On the barren defense line of the interstellar border, a corrosion storm swept across the yellow sand, and the air was filled with the pungent stench of scorched metal and Zerg acid. The armor plate of the -3 Malawian Kwacha's mecha trembled in the strong wind, and the engine made a low gasp, like a dying beast. In the cockpit, Li Xiu's hands clenched the joystick, sweat dripping down his forehead, mixed with blood, blurring his vision. Li Xiu. Your shabby -3 Malawian Kwachas can't hold on anymore. Escape quickly. In the communication channel, the second platoon leader's voice was filled with trembling despair. His mecha had just been torn apart by 3 sickle-clawed insects, and the flames shot into the sky. The remains rolled on the sand dunes, making a wail of twisted metal. We can't hold on any longer, the insect king is coming and the whole army will be wiped out. Li Xiu gritted his teeth and did not respond. On the screen, the Zerg army surged in like a black tide. Tens of thousands of beetles were densely packed, and their sharp limbs flashed coldly under the red light scan. Ordinary pilots have already collapsed, firing energy beams clumsily and wasting precious ammunition. But Li Xiu was different. His fingertips were flying like ghosts, bringing up the blueprint module interface. The energy core of the old -3 Malawian Kwacha should have collapsed due to overload, but he instantly reorganized the output path and compressed the electromagnetic gun's charging time by 30%. Boom! A blue and white arc of electricity erupted from the mouth of the electromagnetic gun. The shock from the thick cannon body caused the entire mecha to tilt, and the engine roared like thunder and exploded. The shells tore through the air and accurately penetrated the center of the insect swarm. Giant insects exploded into green blood mist, and acid splashed everywhere. The teammates mecha next to him witnessed this scene. The pilot's eyes widened, and his voice burst out from the communication, "Damn it, Li Xiu, how did you do it? That bombardment angle is impossible. I have been driving mechas for 5 years, and I have never seen the integration of man and machine so smoothly." Li Xiu sneered without being distracted. His consciousness has been integrated into the mecha's neural network, feeling the pulse of every piece of armor and the throbbing of every energy tube. The ultimate integration of man and machine, the bulky -3 Malawian Kwachas uses its arms and fingers to dodge a wave of sickle claw attack sideways, and cuts off the limbs of the 5-headed insect with a backhand particle blade. In the sand and dust, insect corpses piled up like mountains, and the smell was so strong that it made people sick. But the insect king is coming. It was a huge thing, 20 meters high, with a carapace shining like obsidian, green acid dripping from its mouthparts, and the ground instantly melted into a smoking pit. It swooped down, its tail spines piercing Li Xiu's mecha like lightning. Teammates screamed, "It's over. The insect king has locked onto you, Li Xiu, run away." Li Xiu jerked the joystick, and the Mk3's bulky body turned sideways flexibly. The tail spurs grazed the armor, sparks flew everywhere, and the alarm blared. The energy shield collapsed, and he quickly switched to the blueprint module, tapping the virtual keyboard with his fingers to reconstruct the defense matrix. But the insect king didn't give it a chance, and sprayed a torrent of acid from its huge mouth. The green liquid poured down like a torrential rain, corroding the mecha's shell and making a sizzling burning sound. The temperature in the cockpit soared, and the smell of burnt meat filled the air. 80% of the energy core is damaged. The thruster is paralyzed. The AI warning sound sounded like a reminder. Li Xiu's mecha knelt on the sand dune, its limbs twitching and sparks flying out of its circuitry. All the surrounding teammates were wiped out, leaving only the roar of the insect swarm and the roar of the corrosive wind. The communication channel was dead silent, and only the muffled sound of distant artillery fire proved that the human alliance was still struggling. The border of the Milky Way, this is the last iron-blooded defense line of mankind. In the distant future, the Zerg devours the colonies like a plague, and pirates and rebels take advantage of the chaos to rise. The Mecha Legion of the Human Alliance builds the Great Wall of Steel and resists to the death. However, there are internal and external troubles. and the illegal underground black market racetrack is like a cancer. It is a racing casino for desperados. High-tech mecha modifications are rampant. Rare blueprints are exchanged for lives to determine the outcome of the war. Li Xiu gasped, his eyes red, staring at the approaching insect king on the screen. Images of home flashed through his mind, burned villages, crying children. He growled, "Damn it, we can't just fall down like this." Just when the insect king's tail spike was raised, ready to finish off the predator, the private channel suddenly pierced with noise. Li Xiu. Hold on. I am Tang Yu, intelligence agent. The retreat coordinates have been sent, urgent information, the illegal track contains the legendary Ghost Blueprint. That thing can reshape the invincible mecha and reverse the situation in the border war. Tang Yu's voice was urgent, and the alarm of the intelligence station was blaring in the background. Li Xiu was stunned. The insect king's acid sprayed again, leaving only fragments of the mecha's shield. He gritted his teeth and activated the emergency push. The broken -3 Malawian Quachas retreated like a broken-winged falcon. The sky was covered with sand and dust, and the swarms of insects pursued it relentlessly. Ghost Blueprint? Isn't that a legend, a black market ghost story? It's not a ghost story. Tang Yu gasped as her image appeared on the screen, an alert female spy with messy short hair and a flickering determination in her eyes. I sneaked into the black market and confirmed it. The track is a competition ground controlled by Fu Han's rebels. They exchange blueprints for loyalty. The Zerg invasion is a cover, and Fu Han wants to take the opportunity to seize the border. If you get the blueprint, you can customize the ultimate mecha and fight back against the Zerg king. Li Xiu's mecha hit the ruins, and the shock caused him to vomit blood. Behind, among the wreckage of his teammates, a surviving pilot climbed out of the cockpit, looked at Li Xiu's back and murmured, "Crazy. He actually escaped from the claws of the insect king. I thought he was dead, that control is simply inhuman." After escaping, Li Xiu dragged the broken armor back to the temporary base. Xinu, the beautiful and talented technician, has been waiting for a long time. She looked at the pitted -3 Malawian Quachas and frowned. "Li Xiu, are you desperate again? This mecha is almost turned into scrap metal." The energy core melted and the blueprint module was completely destroyed. Ordinary people would have died 10 times. Li Xiu jumped out of the cockpit, covered in blood, but with firm eyes. "Fix it, Xinu. Use up all the parts in stock. I'm going to the illegal track." Xinu's beautiful eyes widened and the welding gun in her hand trembled. "The track? That damn place is Fu Han's slaughterhouse." The desperado drove a modified mecha and raced wildly, narrowly escaping death. "Are you crazy?" "Not crazy." Li Xiu wiped away the blood and looked at the starry sky. The twin moons hung high on the border, and the green light of the Zerg flickered like a will-o'-the-wisp. The human alliance is in danger. The Zerg and the rebels have joined forces, and our homeland will fall. The Ghost Blueprint is the only hope. I am the blueprint designer, and I can control it. I will protect this land to the death. Xinu was silent, then bit her lip and nodded. "Okay. I'll help you optimize the remaining armor. Install a black market anti-gravity module on the thruster, and replace the gun barrel with high-voltage plasma. But remember, the rules of the track are cruel. If you make a mistake, the mecha will be blown to pieces, and you won't even be left with any residue." The repair took 3 hours, and the base was filled with welding sparks and metal banging sounds. Xinu personally calibrated the blueprint interface, his clothes were wet with sweat, and he murmured, "Your design talent is unparalleled on the border. It takes an ordinary engineer a week to repair the -3 Malawian Quachas, but you reorganized the core in an hour. If Fu Han knew about it, he would definitely regard you as a thorn in his side." Li Xiu tested the control, the engine of the broken armor roared to life, the thick body turned around flexibly, the muzzle locked on the target and exploded with one blow. Xinu gasped, the integration of man and machine, perfect. Go, but be careful of Fu Han's men, they patrol the edge of the track. As night fell, Li Xiu drove the repaired -3 Malawian Quachas and sneaked across the desert. The corrosive wind howled, and the sand and gravel hit the armor like bullets. Intelligence showed that the illegal track was located in the border Rift Valley, with the lights of the black market looming, the roar of engines and the roar of spectators faintly heard. It was a battleground between technology and power. Modified mechas ran like wild beasts, blueprint fragments scattered on the track, and the winner took all. Approaching the edge of the track, the radar suddenly screamed, "The enemy plane is approaching." Fu Han patrol, 3 heavily equipped racing mechas. In the darkness, 3 fierce figures jumped out, and the engines roared like hell. They are Fu Han's exclusive hounds, the armored blades are flashing, the missile nests are buzzing and ready to go, and the lead mecha pilot grins and communicates, "Border bastard. Dare to invade Master Fu Han's territory? Brothers, go ahead. Tear his -3 Malawian Quachas to pieces." Missiles rain down, explosions light up the night sky, and dunes crumble. Li Xiu jerked the control, and the remaining armor slid sideways to dodge, but one of them grazed the wing, tongues of fire licked the armor, and the alarm sounded wildly. The heavily armored mechas clumsily outflanked, and the artillery fire roared, "Be paralyzed. Master Fu has a bounty of 100,000 star coins." Li Xiu's heart sank to the bottom, and his fingertips flew to reorganize the blueprint, with only 40% energy left. Attacked by 3 enemies, how can he escape? Just when the missile locked onto the core, a wild engine roar tore through the night sky. Deep in the track, a streamlined racing mecha sprang out like a ghost. Its pitch-black armor reflected the moonlight, its turbines sprayed blue flames, and it was as fast as lightning. The ultimate smoothness of the integration of man and machine, compared to the cumbersome speed of the patrol. Boom! It passed sideways, and the particle whip shattered an enemy plane, and the fragments fell like a meteor shower. In the cockpit, a cold female voice sounded, "Get away, trash. Newcomer, I'll cover you." The patrol leader's eyes widened and his voice trembled, Han Xiao. "Why are you here? Master Fu Han will skin you." Han Xiao's racing mecha dived wildly, its whip shadow was like a tornado, and the second enemy plane exploded into a fireball. The remaining leading mecha retreated in panic, "Monster. This woman is the queen of the track." Li Xiu looked at the wild mecha and his heart was shocked, Han Xiao, the legend of the illegal track. Why did she save him? Deep in the track, the lights are bright, and the temptation and murderous intention of the blueprint are waiting. Li Xiu's -3 Malawian Quachas engine wheezed and roared, and the alarm with only 40% energy remaining echoed in the cockpit like a heartbeat. The night wind mixed with gravel slapped the armor, making a sharp scraping sound of metal friction. The air was filled with the burnt smell left by the explosion and the sour odor left by the Zerg. The wreckage of the patrol was still smoking, and the firelight reflected the dark outline of Han Xiao's streamlined racing mecha. It hovered in the air, the blue flames of the turbine pulsating like a will-o'-the-wisp, and molten metal dripping from the end of the particle whip. "Follow up, newcomer. The entrance to the track is at the bottom of the Rift Valley, don't hold back." Han Xiao's voice came from the public channel coldly, without any warmth, like a blade cutting across the ice. Her mecha turned sideways slightly, the engine roared, and then it swept into the depths of the rift like a black shadow. Li Xiu gritted his teeth, pushed the joystick, and the anti-gravity module barely ran. The Mk3's bulky body tilted and slid, its wings scraped against the rock wall, and sparks flew everywhere. The surrounding barren rocks are like the teeth of giant beasts, and the corroding wind howls by, rolling up yellow sand and blurring the vision. At the bottom of the Rift Valley, the underground city of illegal circuits suddenly opened up. The lights of the black market are pouring down like a sea of stars, with neon signs flashing, Blueprint Casino, and Death Rush, and the air is filled with the strong smell of machine oil, plasma burning and sweat. Hundreds of modified racing mechas lined the tarmac, their engines idling and roaring like animals panting. The racers gathered outside the foggy bar, with tattoos flashing on their bodies and fierce eyes. Passers-by glanced at Li Xiu's -3 Malawian kwachas and laughed mockingly. Look at this border trash. -3 Malawian kwachas. That thing can't even crush bugs, and you still want to enter the track. Go home and chew the sand. A driver with a scarred face spat and knocked on his heavy racing mecha. The thick armor buzzed and vibrated. Master Fu Han, your patrol has killed you. Boy, the track is not a child's play. After one lap, your broken armor has already melted into molten iron. The people around laughed in agreement. The smell of alcohol was in their noses, and some even threw empty bottles and hit the leg armor of -3 Malawian kwachas, making a crisp impact. Li Xiu was furious, but he suppressed his anger, pretended to be a rookie driver, and jumped out of the cockpit. The blood-stained warrior uniform looked even more miserable under the light. Han Xiao's mecha has landed, and she walks out of the cockpit. Her tall figure is wrapped in a tight-fitting racing uniform, her cold face is as cold as a knife, and her eyes are like cold stars under her short hair. When the riders saw her, they immediately fell silent. Someone whispered, "Queen of the track, she is covering this kid?" Han Xiao glanced at Li Xiu and looked up and down at the pitted armor and temporary welding marks of the -3 Malawian kwachas. His nose twitched slightly, smelling the residual smell of insect acid. Coming from the border. This mecha looks like it has been stepped on 10 times by the insect king. The blueprint design is terrible, the energy path is blocked, and the thruster efficiency is 60% at best. How do you survive until now? Li Xiu met her gaze and said in a deep voice, "That's enough. Thank you for saving me just now." Han Xiao snorted coldly and turned towards the entrance arch, where a holographic hacker lock flashed red and an encryption matrix entangled like a spider web to block outsiders. The strong man guarding the gate smiled ferociously. The registration fee is 50,000 star coins, plus the mecha scan. Border dog, get out. Around the arch, several minions of riders gathered around. The mecha's arm buzzed and raised its plasma gun, threatening, "If you don't pay, I'll chop off your thrusters." Han Zhao's eyes flashed, and just as he was about to take action, Li Xiu stepped forward, and the portable micro-auxiliary module on his wrist lit up with blue light. It was a black market product that Xiu optimized within 3 hours. It was hidden in the wrist guard and could connect to the base remotely. "Xiu, now." Xiu's voice rang quickly in the private channel, with the crackle of welding sparks at the base in the background. "Received. Hack into the track firewall and inject virus packets. Your module is being upgraded, blueprint analysis is accelerated by 20%, energy reorganization simulation is improved. Complete. Be careful with the heat and don't burn your hands." Li Xiu's fingers flew, the virtual keyboard unfolded, and his consciousness was injected into the module like electricity. The hacker's lock screen flashed and codes poured out like a torrential rain. He instantly cracked the 3-layer encryption and reorganized the path to bypass Fu Han's trap. The arch opened with a buzzing sound, and the green light swept over -3 Malawian kwachas, confirming the registration. The strong man guarding the gate widened his eyes, beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, and his voice trembled. This is impossible. The hacker lock was set up by Mr. Fu himself, and it would take a top hacker half an hour. What's your background? The minions took a step back, their plasma guns lowered, and someone murmured, monsters from the border. Han Xiao raised her eyebrows and looked at Li Xiu again, her lips slightly raised but without a smile. Blueprint has good talent. The reorganization speed is 0.3 seconds faster than mine. Join us, newcomers. The track preliminaries are about to start, and I need a reliable partner. She turned to lead the way, and the two of them entered the underground city side by side. The engine roared and the audience roared like a flood. The registration hall is brightly lit, and the holographic screen projects the rules of the track. a bloody sprint through the ruined area, the remaining Zerg nests and the energy storm zone. The ruins are collapsing colonies, the steel bars are like traps, the insect nest acid pool is boiling, and the green mist corrodes everything. The storm carries plasma that is about to explode at the touch of a touch. In the knockout round, the mecha with the lowest points will self-destruct and no bones will be left. When the riders were registering, someone laughed at Li Xiu. -3 Malawian kwachas entered the preliminaries. Kneel down on the first lap. Look at our heavily equipped hound, the thruster is overclocked by 120%. Li Xiu ignored it and connected to the track data terminal. The micromodule was humming. XINU provided remote support, data is being pulled. Li Xiu, the average propulsion efficiency of the track mecha is 78%, and your original -3 Malawian kwachas is only 65%. I will give you a temporary blueprint plan, anti-gravity module tandem plasma cannon waste heat recovery, which improves efficiency by 30%. But parts are limited and the armor will be thinner. You are at your own risk. With his fingers flying ghostly, the blueprint in Li Xiu's mind unfolded like a three-dimensional star map. He reorganized the energy circuit and bridged the black market module with the barrel thermal energy, and the simulation test was perfect. A senior driver at the scene came over to take a look at the screen, his face turned pale, and he gasped, "Oh my God, what a design! Waste heat recovery and series propulsion. Ordinary engineers can't think of it in a year. Is your kid a genius or a monster?" Han Xiao glanced at it and nodded, "It's feasible. Install it and start after 5 minutes of warm-up in the preliminaries." Li Xiu sneered, and the integration of man and machine broke out instantly. The joystick trembled slightly, and the -3 Malawian kwachas slid sideways like a ghost. The new efficiency made the heavy mecha smooth as water. The plasma in the barrel was swept away, and the missile exploded into a fireball midway. The backhand particle blade was drawn out, cutting off the propulsion wing of the minion. The enemy plane rolled out of control, hit the guardrail and exploded. Debris rained down, and black smoke filled the air. The little guy climbed out of the cockpit, his face covered with blood, and he knelt down and trembled, "Spare me. Your control, the integration of man and machine is the ultimate. How can the -3 Malawian kwachas be so fast? I have been driving competitive mechas for 10 years, and I have never seen it before." On the tarmac, Li Xiu was welding by himself, sparks flew and the smell of engine oil was pungent. The -3 Malawian kwachas engine started up and roared like thunder. The heavy body turned around lightly, anti-gravity blue flames were ejected, and the speed skyrocketed. The surrounding riders were dumbfounded, and a minion piloted a light racing mecha and crashed into him, trying to extinguish his majesty. "It's just a warm-up, take a missile from me." The missile roared, and its tail flame was scorching. Han Xiao's mecha passed by, and the particle whip lightly whipped the ground to warn, "The first round of points has been obtained. Newcomers, qualified." The audience screamed, the betting machine flashed wildly, and someone shouted, "Border Boy Dark Horse. Beat him to win." But more taunts remained, "It's just a warm-up, wait until the insect nest to see the real results." Just as the warm-up was over, the giant holographic screen suddenly lit up, and a gloomy figure projected out, Fu Han. The rebel leader is wearing a black robe, his face is like a withered corpse, his eyes are flashing with green light, and in the background is the crawling of the Zerg lair. "Welcome, desperados. The reward for the champion of the preliminaries is the legendary Ghost Blueprint. It can reshape the ultimate mecha and sweep across the border insect swarm." The audience was excited, and the riders roared with red eyes, "Blueprint. Long live Mr. Fu." Fu Han sneered, and glanced at Li Xiu's -3 Malawian kwachas, but warning, the next round of death elimination competition has begun. The energy storm belt has been activated, and the Zerg injection is doubled. For the weak, the mecha will self-destruct, and the corpse will feed the insects. His sight suddenly locked on Li Xiu, and he squinted, that -3 Malawian kwachas, the energy core has hidden defects. 40% margin, and the armor welds are unstable. Border dogs, dare to come and die. Li Xiu's heart sank. How did Fu Han know? Patrol comms remnants. Han Xiao whispered, exposed. Prepare to fight, newcomers. The blueprint is close at hand, but you must survive the death match first. The engines roared throughout the venue, the death match alarm sounded harshly, green mist rose in the ruins area, and the roar of the Zerg was faintly heard. Li Xiu clenched the joystick and stared forward with red eyes, the fire of his homeland flashed in his mind, and the counterattack began. The starting grid collapsed with a buzz, and 30 racing mechas roared out like wild beasts. The engine tail flames tore through the night, and the remnants of steel bars in the ruins area cast twisted black shadows under the headlights. Tens of thousands of people roared in the audience, the neon lights pulsed like blood, and the smell of machine oil and burnt plasma in the air was instantly so strong that it was suffocating. Li Xiu's -3 Malawian Kwacha's engine roared overclocked, the thick armor trembled, and the energy alarm screamed 80% risk of overload. But his fingers were tapping the virtual interface like lightning, the waste heat recovery circuit was running wildly, and the anti-gravity module's blue flames burst out, making this bulky behemoth approach the speed of a light racing machine. Han Xiao's streamlined racing mecha flashed sideways like a black shadow, and the tail end of the particle whip threw out an electric arc, crushing a baneling insect, and the green juice exploded into mist. Newcomer, I'll give you the laser net. Go back. Her voice was as cold as ice, the mecha dived with high maneuverability, and the turbine screamed through the storm. Li Xiu gritted his teeth, the blueprint and star map unfolded in his mind, and the frequency pulses of the laser network in his field of vision were like a torrent of data. He roared, XINU, inject pulse simulation. In the private channel, XINU responded hastily, with welding sparks crackling in the background, data synchronization. The shield blueprint is being redrawn, the energy is borrowed from the waste heat of the gun barrel, instantaneous pulse waves, blocking 90% of the laser. Border garbage, go and feed the worms, the leading heavily armored hound rider, a giant man with a face full of tattoos, broadcast from the public channel with a ferocious smile. His mecha shoulder cannon fired a volley, and missiles rained down like swarms of swarms. The riders at the back echoed with taunts, -3 Malawian Kwachas. Iron slag melts in the first turn. Mr. Fu is right, your welds will crack when touched. Laser nets hung from the steel beams on both sides of the bend, red lines intertwined into a web of death, self-destruction bugs swarmed out of the cracks in the ground, green carapace squirmed, acid dripped and corroded the ground with a sizzling sound, and the air instantly became sour and pungent. With ghostly fingers flying, Li Xiu immediately redraws the blueprint. The energy circuit twists and reorganizes like a living thing. The -3 Malawian Kwacha's front armor shakes, the pulse shield explodes the blue force field, and the buzzing resonance blocks the first wave of laser fire. The red light hit the force field, sparks flew out like fireworks, arcs danced wildly at the edge of the shield, and heat waves hit the cockpit. Beads of sweat rolled down Li Xiu's forehead, and the energy plummeted to 35%, but the rain of missiles had arrived, more than a dozen scorching tail flames hit the weak welds of -3 Malawian Kwachas. Die, border dog. The hound driver laughed wildly and sprayed his shoulder cannon again. But the shield pulse wave came back, smashing the missiles like an invisible giant hammer, exploding fireballs bursting out in succession, and the shock wave caused the surrounding light racing machines to roll out of control. The hound driver's eyes widened, and the alarm in the cockpit blared. What the hell? Instantaneous shield activation. This -3 Malawian Kwachas, impossible. His mecha was overturned by the aftermath, and his heavy body hit the steel bars, letting out a wail of twisted metal. Han Xiao seized the opportunity. After the high-speed maneuver, the particle whip wrapped around the hound's energy core like a poisonous snake. It cut and cracked with a sizzling sound. Blue plasma spurted from the crack. The hound's engine exploded into a ball of fire, and debris fell like rain. There was a dead silence in the audience, and then screams broke out, "Queen of the track! Border Boy's shield skill!" A bettor's hands were trembling, and he stared at the holographic scoreboard and muttered, 35% of the energy can block the rain of missiles. I am betting on the wrong person. This newcomer is a monster. After the first turn, Li Xiu's engine overload alarm beeped piercingly, heat poured into the cockpit like lava, sweat evaporated into fog, and his vision was blurred. The remnants of the Zerg nest are ahead, the acid pool is boiling and green mist is rising. 3 heavy-armored opponents, Fu Han's ace team, have blocked the passage. Their mechas are like fortresses, the plasma shield wall is buzzing, and the missiles are locked on Li Xiu. Master Fu orders, crush -3 Malawian kwachas. The taunting channel is boiling, overloaded. Kneel down, trash. Our heavy armor is pushing 150%, your broken engine can't last 10 seconds. Desperation overwhelmed, the flames of the -3 Malawian kwachas thruster were unstable, trembling and sliding, and the insect swarm jumped out of the pool, exploding into green fire. Li Xiu's red eyes locked onto the weak point of the enemy aircraft, and the blueprint in his mind was frantically simulating, Han Xiao, contain the left wing. Han Xiao's particle whip whipped the blaster swarm, and the mecha dived to the left, Roger. Hold on to your shield. Li Xiu ignored the overload red light, and the blue light of the micromodule on his wrist flashed wildly, reorganizing the engine circuit. The residual heat went straight to the particle blade, sacrificing armor for an instant burst. The second heavy-armored artillery poured out fire, and plasma bombs were like a torrential rain, but Li Xiu's shield pulse was activated again, and the ballistic trajectory deflected, rebounded back to the enemy plane, and exploded the shield wall. The engine was overloaded to 95%, and the metal in the cockpit deformed and made a crunching sound. Li Xiu growled and endured the pain, pushing the blue flame superjet. The -3 Malawian kwachas hit the enemy's breastplate like a meteorite, and the particle blade penetrated into the core. The shock wave of the explosion flew away the insect swarms, and the acid rain rained down and corroded the surrounding racing machines. The second driver popped out of the cabin, his arm was broken and blood spurted out, and his eyes collapsed. The integration of man and machine, the ultimate. I have been driving heavy armor for 8 years, and I have never seen a heavy machine so flexible. The ultimate explosion of man-machine integration. The joystick extends like flesh and blood, and the Mk3's thick body slides smoothly. The particle blade doubles in length, drawing a plasma arc. The driver of the first heavy armor was still grinning, "Heavy cargo, I'll kill you." But Li Xiu had already ghosted around to the side, and the tip of the blade penetrated the energy cabin. There was a boom implosion, and fire erupted from the joints. The heavy armor stumbled to the ground like a drunkard. The driver climbed out of the cabin, his face covered with blackness, and he knelt down and trembled. Monster. How did the -3 Malawian kwachas get around? My heavy armor was killed by a knife. The third heavy armor retreated in panic and screamed, "Team asking for help. The engine of this border dog is about to explode." But Li Xiu had already predicted that the blueprint interface accelerated by 20% to allow him to see through the path. The residual heat blade whip was drawn out and cut off the propulsion tube. The enemy plane lost control and fell into the pool. The acid engulfed the gulu and bubbled up. The driver's screams were drowned in the green mist. Surviving riders around were stunned, and a light hand trembled through the communication. 3 kills, overload counterkill triple armor. The points are off the charts. Fu Han's team is completely wiped out. Who is this newcomer? Han Xiao's mecha passed by, and the particle whip protected Li Xiu's flanks, first in the group, newcomer. The engine is cooling down, don't be brave. The holographic standings flashed, Li Xiu and Han Xiao's joint points lead by 30%, the audience roared like thunder, border dark horse. Slaughter the heavy armor. But Li Xiu noticed something strange while breathing. The track AI road sign flashed with a delay of 0.2 seconds, and the timing of the insect swarm was too good, as if it was aimed at him. The insect nest passed by, the energy storm carried plasma, and the blue and purple arcs were like tornadoes. The preliminaries entered the final round. Fu Han's ace driver, Fang, sprang out in a ghost prototype mecha, with a translucent invisible coating on the fuselage and silent overclocking of the thrusters, approaching Li Xiu in an instant. "Master Fu called me, I'll crush you." The Fang missile locked invisibly, and storm plasma rushed in with the help of force. Han Xiao growled, "I'll block the storm, you take the main attack." Her mecha maneuvered through the arc with high maneuverability, and its particle whip dispersed the plasma. Li Xiu's energy was only 28%, and the residual heat from the engine burned him like fire, but his blueprint talent exploded. The micromodule analyzed the Fang data, stealth frequency 87.3 Hz, redraw detection. His fingers flew, the -3 Malawian Kwacha's radar circuit connected the shield in series, and the pulse wave scan exposed the outline of the Fang. The venomous Fang driver's face turned pale. "You've discovered me?" "Impossible, Master Fu's exclusive technology." Missiles were launched, but Li Xiu's man and machine dodged together. The thick mecha glided like a dance in the storm, the particle blade extended and whipped, cutting through the invisibility layer, and the plasma cannon exploded at close range. Boom! The Fang's chest armor was pierced, and the energy core was exposed. The driver screamed and ejected, falling into the plasma and turning into ashes. The audience was silent for 3 seconds, and then cheered like an earthquake. Instant kill ace. The border boy is invincible. The betting machine crashed and flashed, and someone slumped down and murmured, "The ghost prototype breaks the invisibility with one blow." His blueprint design is amazing. Han Xiao's lips slightly raised, first place in the final round. The ghost blueprint is close. The grill at the end of the track rose, Li Xiu -3 Malawian Kwachas slid to a stop, the energy was 12%, the armor was as black as paper and the cockpit was steaming with heat. He jumped out of the cabin, his legs trembling slightly. The riders around him retreated, their eyes mixed with fear and admiration. A surviving heavily armored man handed over the points chip with trembling hands. "Big brother, first." Fu Han has never lost so miserably. The holographic screen projected a ghost blueprint clue, a data crystal appeared, marked AI Core Control, Track Deep. Li Xiu squinted, the track AI anomaly was confirmed, the insect swarm was dropped, and the laser was delayed, all controlled by Fu Han. The private channel beeped, Xinu's voice was urgent, and the background alarm was piercing. Li Xiu. Urgent data, Tangyu intelligence, Fu Han plans a border Zerg raid, within 3 hours. The base is running out of parts, your -3 Malawian Kwachas cannot survive the war. Add quick win blueprint, reshape the ultimate machine. Be careful, there will be an ambush after the game. Li Xiu held the chip tightly, his red eyes scanned the shadow of Fu Han's projection, and a sneer appeared on the corpse's face. "Border dog, the blueprint is not yours, see the real chapter." The neon veins of the underground city are coiled like poisonous snakes. At the edge of the ruins' terminal grid, the remains of the -3 Malawian Kwachas are still, crunching, and gasping. The charred black armor is as thin as cicada wings. The heat wave in the engine compartment evaporates into white mist, and the smell of burnt oil and plasma penetrates the nose. Li Xiu jumped out of the cockpit and knelt down as his legs gave way. Threads of sweat and blood slipped from his forehead. His name flashed in the holographic standings in his field of vision, a dark horse in the preliminaries and the first at the starting point of the final round. But only 12% of the energy was left, and the overload alarm was like a howling ghost. He cursed lowly, grabbed the integration chip and inserted it into the wrist interface. The torrent of data was like an ice needle pricking his brain. Han Xiao came closer, Han Xing's eyes twinkling under his short hair. "Let's work together to the end, newcomers. I have a backdoor to Fu Han's AI. But your blueprint, let me see the limit." As the engine roared, the underground city boiled, and the death final alarm sounded again. The blueprint battle, blood stained the stars. Li Xiu gritted his teeth and leaned against the remnant of the mecha, his red eyes scanning the chip projection, clues to the ghost blueprint, AI core control, deep in the track. The star map unfolded in his mind, and the pulse data of the preliminaries path spread out like a spider web. He tapped ghostly with his fingers, XINU, optimize the suspended magnetic track. The terrain of the track is changing, the radiation meteorite belt is about to open, gravity field turbulence plus radiation corrosion, ordinary mecha magnetic boots will melt as soon as you step on it. The energy alarm beeped wildly, and the surrounding riders whispered, and a light-handed man with a greasy face retreated tremblingly, Dark Horse, the engine is still smoking, the radiation belt in the semifinals. Fu Han's exclusive killing field, the light machine is reduced to ashes, how can his -3 Malawian kwachas hold up? Li Xiu, upload the scan data. The private channel exploded, XINU's voice was rapid and hoarse, welding sparks crackled in the background, and the parts warehouse alarm in the temporary border base echoed harshly, your -3 Malawian kwachas weld seam is 80% cracked, the propulsion tube is deformed, and the radiation protection is 0. Zerg Raid 3 all parts will be used up within an hour, and we can't hold on to the war. Her image projection trembled, her beautiful face was pale, and her hands were flying with virtual blueprints. The AI abnormality in the preliminaries is confirmed, the insect swarm is delayed by 0.2 seconds, and the laser frequency is locked to your blueprint signature. Han Xiao's streamlined racing mecha slid to a stop next to her. The tail end of her particle whip was still, sizzling, dripping with green juice. She jumped out of the cabin, her short-haired hunching eyes locked on Li Xiu, newcomer, don't bear it. The shady story of the illegal track, Fu Han not only controls the AI, he has formed a black market alliance with the Interstellar. See, the blueprint fragments are scattered on the track, and the winner gets a full set of ghost prototypes, stealth plus AI prediction. But there are only 3 places in the semi-finals, and there is his ambush circle behind the radiation belt. My old account, AI backdoor, go deep. XINU screamed and intervened, data synchronization. Suspended magnetic rail redrawing, black market anti-gravity module series waste heat recovery, improved terrain adaptation by 50%, deformation mode unlocked, magnetic rail ejection cutting blade. The remote blueprint is like a living thing injected into -3 Malawian kwachas, the blue light in the cockpit flashes wildly, the remaining armor buzzes and trembles and reorganizes, the suspended magnetic rail stretches from the soles of the feet, the silver track winds like veins, the engine roars to wake up, and the heat wave gradually subsides. The nearby technicians were dumbfounded, and a veteran driver rubbed his eyes and murmured, "You are still optimizing remotely after running out of parts?" The border technician is amazing. -3 Malawian kwachas stood up, and the magnetic rails flashed, as if they were alive. The semi-final siren roared, the underground dome cracked open, and the holographic map of the radiation meteorite belt was projected, a gravityless turbulent zone, meteorites rolling like lava monsters, green radiation mist billowing, corroded metal making a constant, sizzling sound, and the death grid disintegrating with a buzz. 20 racing mechas sprang out, tail flames tore through the neon lights, Li Xiu's Mk3's thick body was overclocked, blue flames burst out from the suspended magnetic rails, the man-machine united like an extension of flesh and blood, and the bulky behemoth actually slid smoothly in the turbulent flow. The engines of the surrounding light riders screamed and went out of control. They hit the meteorite and shattered into fireballs. The driver screamed and ejected, radiation fog. The shield melted, the gravity field flipped, and I overturned the car. The private channel clicked again, and Tang Yu's encrypted image flashed, with shadows of the black market in the background. She whispered urgently, Li Xiu, Fu Han's communication was intercepted, he sent a team of Shadow Blade assassins to attack the camp. The border raid was a cover, but the real purpose was to snatch the last technology of the human alliance based on the track blueprint. There are traitors inside, monitoring your channel. Be careful of Han Xiao's backdoor. The image broke, and the static noise was like a knife scratching the eardrum. Li Xiu's heart sank, and he held the black crystal tightly. Han Xiao frowned slightly. Tang Yu. She dived too deep. Trust me, newcomer, your blueprint allows me to see the limits. The leader is Fu Han's trump card, the Iron Wall Trio. The heavy armored fortress mecha blocks the meteorite passage, the plasma shield wall buzzes and pulses, and the missiles lock on Li Xiu. Master Fu ordered, the radiation belt melted your magnetic track. Border garbage, the quota is not yours. The ridicule channel was full of laughter. Optimization. -3 Malawian kwachas turns into molten iron as soon as it enters the fog. Radiation fog hit the face, green light eroded the armor, Li Xiu's energy dropped to 8%, the alarm was blaring, the radiometer in the cockpit was ticking wildly, and his skin was burning. Han Xiao threw away the meteorite fragments with her particle whip, and the mecha dived with high maneuverability to cover. Newcomer, attack the left wing of the iron wall, I will follow you. Her whip tail arced wildly, exploding 3 trailing light aircraft, the explosion fire reflected the mist, and the debris rain, ding-ding, hit the -3 Malawian kwachas. Li Xiu roared, speeding up the blueprint in his mind by 20%, anticipating the path of turbulent flow, and the micromodule on his wrist flashed, transformation mode, start. The suspended magnetic track extended with a click, and the ejection blade under the foot was extended by 3 meters. The number 1 iron wall driver laughed ferociously and fired, heavy cargo, cutting blade. Radiation will melt you. A torrential rain of plasma bombs poured down, but Li Xiu's man-machine integration was at its best. The meteorite absorbed by the magnetic rails used the force to dodge sideways, and the tip of the blade drew a plasma arc, cutting directly into the enemy's guard wing. Hi! The wings broke, the iron wall was unbalanced and hit the meteorite, the radiation fog swallowed up the energy cabin and, boomed, and imploded. The driver ejected from the cabin, with green spots on his face, and knelt down and trembled, deformed and ejected. Why did the -3 Malawian kwachas get behind the turbulence? My heavy armored wings were broken in seconds with a single blade. Monster! The second iron wall locked in panic, missiles swarmed in, and the radiation fog helped corrode the track. Li Xiu ignored 5% of the energy, turned on the shield pulse again, rained back missiles, and the explosion blasted away meteorite fragments like meteors. The second driver's face turned pale in the cockpit, the magnetic track adapts to the changing terrain. Mr. Fu, heavy armor can't handle this flexibility. Li Xiu predicted the roll, pulled out the ejection blade whip, and cut off the second guard wing. The enemy plane rolled and fell into the fog, sour green juice and molten metal, golu, bubbled up, and the driver screamed and died. The third iron wall retreated and screamed, squad asking for help. Is this border dog immune to radiation? But Han Xiao opened fire with full firepower, and the particle whip swept the following convoy. 5 light aircraft turned into balls of fire, and debris rained down. Her channel roared, clean, newcomer. The blueprint fragments are in the meteorite crack in front. Li Xiu locked on, the magnetic track was overclocked and ejected, his thick body passed through the turbulence, the tip of the blade pierced the meteorite, and a flickering crystal popped out in the green mist, the ghost blueprint fragments. Immediate injection, -3 Malawian kwachas firepower module reorganization, barrel high-voltage plasma upgrade, blue flame energy accumulation, buzzing, accumulation. Surviving riders around were dumbfounded, and a light-hand communication trembled, 2 kills plus sweeping the trailing cross. The radiation belt also ejected and cut. The points exploded. His firepower module flashed with ghost light, Fu Han's ace was wiped out, this dark horse is a god. Thousands of people in the audience roared, and the betting machine crashed and flashed red, the border boy is invincible. The blueprint fragments are obtained, first in the semifinals. In the shadow of the camp, the night wind was mixed with the smell of engine oil. Li Xiu removed his armor for inspection, and XINU projected remotely, the fragments are perfectly fused, and the output of the plasma cannon is doubled. But Tang Yu's intelligence, the traitor is in the camp, and Fu Han's assassin has infiltrated. Before he could finish his words, darkness erupted. The trio of Shadow Blade assassins sprang out like ghosts, their invisible blades swishing through the air, and the laser net hung from the roof of the camp, locking onto Li Xiu. The leading assassin smiled ferociously, Master Fu's gift, a border dog. Han Xiao whipped back, but an invisible dart grazed Li Xiu's shoulder, blood splattered, and the poison burned like fire to the heart. He groaned and backed away, his vision blurred. The grill at the end of the semi-finals was raised, Li Xiu -3 Malawian kwachas slid to a stop, the energy was 3%, the magnetic track was scorched and bent, the radiation fog remained pungent, and the cockpit was mixed with sweat and blood. But the holographic list flashed, number 1 in the semi-finals, and the ghost blueprint progressed by 30%. Han Xiao passed by, his eyes flashing with approval, firepower upgrade, extreme. Camp repairs, final spots locked. The underground camp was brightly lit, and black market vendors were selling parts. The riders retreated to make way, and an old technician trembled and handed Jing Jing, Big Brother, the radiation belt massacre. Fu Han's face turned green. The energy exhaustion alarm sounded wildly, Li Xiu locked his red eyes, the firepower module gathered energy, and the plasma cannon fired, boom, at close range. The invisibility layer tore, the assassin's chest was pierced, and the smell of burnt flesh filled his nostrils. He ejected and fell to the ground, his eyes collapsed, even after being injured, he fought back to kill this blueprint monster. The camp was completely silent, and the riders stared wide-eyed and murmured, internal betrayal. The black horse's shoulder is bleeding, and the assassin is bleeding. The team was wiped out. In the finals, Fu Han went crazy. Li Xiu covered his wounds and gasped, and Tang Yu's encrypted channel rang again, hold on. The border insect tide is advancing, the blueprint is deep, Fu Han's true body appears. The underground city trembled, the death final sirens thundered, and the battle was bloody. The firelight of the camp flickered, and the sour and rotten smell of burnt flesh and green blood filled the night sky. The Shadow Blade assassins' remains lay paralyzed on the muddy metal ground, and the broken part of the invisible blade was still sizzling with arcs of electricity. The poisonous wound on Li Xiu's shoulder was like thousands of ants biting the bone, and blood soaked through the temporary bandage. He knelt on one knee and gasped. The remains of the -3 Malawian kwacha's armor stood behind him, the track was corroded and bent like a broken bone, and the engine roared like a dying beast. Han Xiao retracted the particle whip, and the green juice from the tail of the whip splashed to the ground. Her short hair was sticky with sweat, and her cold eyes swept over the ghost on the kneeling ground. The driver's face was sallow, and her teeth were chattering, Sister Han. Fu Han gave me the prototype of the blueprint, I just want to live. Han Xiao kicked the mole over, and the particle whip hit his shoulder. His skin was torn and his screams echoed, go away and surrender, Fu Han's dog. She turned around and knelt down on Li Xiu, and roughly tore open his shoulder jacket. Venomous blood bubbled black and purple, stabbing the fishy smell rushed straight into her nose, newcomer, the toxin is spreading, bear with it. She took out a tube of black market antidote from her belt and plunged it in. The cold liquid coursed through her body like electricity. Li Xiu groaned and gritted his teeth, and his vision cleared from blur. The private channel, Didi, exploded, and Xinu's projection jumped out, her beautiful face twisted and anxious, Li Xiu. Camp surveillance intercepted, shoulder injury radiation plus nerve poison, base airdrop nano repair capsule, 5 minutes to go. Hold on, there is a 2-hour countdown to the finals, your blueprint is 30% progress, Fu Han's personal guards have assembled for the preliminary round. The night wind stirred up oil dust, and the dome in the distance crackled. An unmanned airdrop cabin fell like a meteorite, smashing open the earth platform at the edge of the camp. The alloy box exploded with a bang. The high-end titanium crystal alloy fragments flashed blue and emitted the aroma of metallic heat. The riders gasped, and a technician boy rushed to pick it up, border airdrop. The purity of the titanium crystal is 99%, and the black market price is 100,000 star coins per kilogram. They ran out of parts and spent money. This dark horse is worth it. Han Xiao helped Li Xiu stand up, his eyes were rare and soft. Let's go, repair the machine. Let's work together to practice the final insect hole, Fu Han's AI simulation, radiation insect flood plus gravity collapse in the hole. Your -3 Malawian kwachas is thick, and its speed is shortcomings. Li Xiu shook off the dizziness, grabbed the alloy box and dragged it towards -3 Malawian kwachas. The blueprint interface in his mind accelerated by 20%, and pulses of ghost fragments flowed like living blood. Hybrid thruster, fragment firepower plus your black crystal backdoor. Han Xiao used the particle whip interface to recover anti-gravity waste heat and increase the speed by 80%. His ghostly fingers tapped the wrist module, and the nanocapsules buzzed into the wound. The poisonous blood flowed back and became clear, and the shoulder muscles wriggled and regenerated. Xinu's remote blueprints were superimposed and projected, and his voice was hoarse and excited. Genius. Titanium Crystal Series suspension magnetic rails, new thruster blueprint rendering, core pulse engine, debris AI prediction path, deformation blade turning and spraying. The blue light flashed wildly in the cockpit, -3 Malawian kwachas, crunched and reorganized, the charred armor peeled off, the new alloy layer covered it like liquid, the thick body lines were streamlined, the underfoot hybrid thruster stretched, the blue flame test spray, boom, kicked up the camp rubble, and the heat wave dust hit the face. Han Xiao's eyes widened, and his short hair was messed up by the wind. Speed increase? Even my particle machine can't catch up. Man and machine become one, try it. The camp simulation cabin started, and the holographic projection of the underground insect cave unfolded. The walls of the deep cave squirmed, swarms of radiation bugs hissed all over, green mist rolled, and the gravity collapsed like a black hole swallowing. Two mechas rushed in. Li Xiu's -3 Malawian kwachas engine roared, the integration of man and machine was perfect, the brain waves extended like blood, the new thruster burst with blue flames, the thick behemoth slid smoothly through the narrow gaps in the acupoints, the cutting blade, swish, cut through the swarm of insects, and the sour odor of insect blood sprayed and corroded the shield. Han Xiao maneuvered her particle whip into high altitude and dived for cover. The whip shadow danced wildly to blast the insect eggs on the cave wall, but the gravity collapsed and pulled her tail. She rolled with a low curse, damn collapse. Newcomer, relay. The ordinary driver's simulated test cabin screamed repeatedly. A strong man drove a light aircraft into a wall and was bombed to pieces. His face was ejected with green juice. He knelt down and retched, the gravity of the insect hole flipped, and the propeller melted. I will die in 10 seconds. The dark horse's thick armor is still ejecting and circling. Li Xiu predicted the collapse, the hybrid thruster overclocked, the magnetic rail absorbed the wall of the cave and ejected with the force, the tip of the blade drew an electric arc, piercing the core of the insect tide, poof, green blood exploded, and the acupoints trembled and collapsed. He roared on the channel, Han Xiao, backdoor black crystal is injected into the AI, delaying the insect swarm for 0.5 seconds. Han Xiao whipped the tail, and the data torrent buzzed into the core of the simulation. The insect swarm moved sluggishly, and her eyes flashed in approval. We have a tacit understanding together, newcomer, your design allows me to see the limit. In the finals, we will sweep through the insect den. The simulation ended, and the two aircraft slid out of the cabin. The residual heat of the -3 Malawian kwachas thruster evaporated into white mist, and the alloy layer flashed ghost blue. The riders roared outside the circle, and an old technician trembled and handed over the energy crystal. Brother, the simulated insect dens were completely cleared, the speed was like ghosts, the gravity collapsed, and the man and the machine were flying. Fu Han's personal guard wet his pants when he saw it. Li Xiu jumped into the cabin, sweat and blood dried up, and looked at Han Xiao. She gave a rare smile. The old accounts have been cleared, and the blueprint goes deeper, believe you. But the private channel died, Tang Yu's encrypted image flashed, and she gasped in the shadow of the black market. Li Xiu, the track map is stolen, the final corner death trap. Fu Han's personal guards blockade, laser net plus wormhole fusion, AI predicts your blueprint signature, gravity black hole swallows the machine. The siren of the final preliminaries roared like thunder, the underground track opened a huge mouth, the neon veins pulsated, and the betting machines beeped and crashed as tens of thousands of spectators gathered. The three machines of Fu Han's personal guards reappeared, the Bloodthorn Fortress, the arm-mounted laser sword buzzed and charged, the plasma cannon tube was red-hot and twisted, and the armor thorns were like insect claws. The leading personal guard said with a sinister smile on the channel, Master Fu personally ordered, chop for the preliminary competition. The Dark Horse. The ghost blueprint is not from Border Dog. The tail flames of the 20 reserve mechas were pierced, and the Li Xiu -3 Malawian Quachas was heavily overclocked. The new thrusters burst out with blue flames, and the man-machine united and rushed out of the starting point, followed by Han Xiao's particle whip. The first turn of the track radiated a rain of gravel, and the Bloodthorn guards blocked the road. The laser sword buzzed and cut down the torrential rain. Li Xiu's energy alarm sounded, and the thruster was overloaded and the heat wave burned the cabin. The shield pulse was on the verge of collapse. He ducked sideways with a low curse, suppress. The ordinary driver's engine screamed out of control, and the smashed gravel blasted into a fireball. The driver screamed and ejected, guard laser net, the preliminaries are over. Massacre. The Dark Horse -3 Malawian Quachas is bulky, how can the sword rain be broken? The sarcasm boiled, border garbage, the new alloy clothes are also melted with thorn cannons. The blood-thorn arm sword directly hit the -3 Malawian Quacha's shoulder armor, King, sparks flew, the armor cracks smoked, Li Xiu's vision shook, and the energy dropped by 20%. Han Xiao whipped to cover but was forced back by the plasma cannon, newcomer, thorn lock, can't keep up. Desperation overwhelmed, the blueprint in Li Xiu's mind accelerated, the ghost fragments predicted the sword's trajectory, and the wrist module flashed, energy blade, block. The -3 Malawian Quacha's arm stretched out to transform the blade, the blue flame gathered energy into a shield, buzzed to block the laser rainstorm, and the plasma bombed to blast away the guard wings. The face of the first blood ratchet driver was ashen in the cockpit, block plasma. Hybrid thruster ghost. Master Fu, this dog counterattacks. Li Xiu used the force to eject, the cutting blade overclocked by 3 meters, and his thick body rolled over in the turbulent flow of gravel. Turn, Zila, cuts off the enemy's arm, the laser sword rolls down the track and booms, to self-destruct, the guard ejects and falls to the ground, his body is twitching with arcs of electricity, his eyes collapse, a broken arm kills instantly. The new alloy blade cuts through heavy thorns like tofu. The monster advances. The second blood thorn bombarded them in panic, the thorn missiles swarmed in the face, and the radiation fog helped corrode the track. Li Xiu ignored 10% of the energy, and the blue flames of the thruster spurted wildly. After skidding around, the human-machine integration was predicted to collapse. The blade whip was drawn out and pierced the energy cabin. Green slurry burst out. The enemy plane rolled and crashed, and the driver screamed and died. The surrounding reserve riders were dumbfounded, and a light-hand communication trembled, second kill of the guards. Laser block plus blade arms severing, speed increase and crushing. Points exploded, first in the preliminary round. Han Xiao's firepower swept away, the particle whip blasted the 5 following, and the debris rain, ding-ding, hit the ground, clean, newcomer. The curved trap is approaching. Traitor. Li Xiu growled, scanning the blueprint in his mind, the communication of Han Xiao's old department in the camp flickered, revealing his location. The driver's face turned pale, and he knelt down trembling. Fu Han promised the blueprint. I was wrong, brother, please spare my life. The assassin's blade rain rushed towards him, Li Xiu was injured and rolled to the ground, the Mk3's broken armor ejection rail blocked the blow, and King sparks flew everywhere. Han Xiao's whip shadow danced wildly, killing an assassin, and green blood splashed on the ground. The inner ghost has emerged, hold on. But the leading assassin was invisible and overclocked, and the tip of the blade approached Li Xiu's throat. There is only one spot left in the Ghost Blueprint finals, you die. The third Bloodthorn retreated and screamed, ask for help. The Dark Horse blueprint is fused, the thorn can't bear the flexibility. But Li Xiu locked on, the hybrid thruster gathered energy and ejected, the tip of the blade drew an electric arc and penetrated the cockpit, the Bloodthorn fortress imploded with a boom, the fire reflected neon, and the guards flew away in ashes. The finish grill rises, and the holographic list flashes, number 1 in the preliminary round, the final spot is locked. The audience's roar shook the dome, the riders retreated to make way, and a betting boss knelt down, all the personal guards are wiped out. The border boy is invincible, Fu Han is completely embarrassed. The broadcast on the underground track reverberated like thunder, and the projection of Fu Han's sinister face slowly faded away, leaving behind a biting taunt, border dog, within an hour, the blueprint belongs to me, or humanity will fly away. The neon lights of the camp flashed wildly, and the riders retreated into a circle. The air was filled with the stench of burnt plasma and green blood, and the energy crystal fragments rolled down the metal ground with a ding-ding, reflecting their sallow faces. A technician boy with a greasy face pointed at Li Xiu's -3 Malawian kwachas tremblingly, all the personal guards were destroyed. That thick monster, the blue flames ejected and cut off the arms like cutting paper, Fu Han's face turned green. But in the finals, the black hole of the wormhole has a devouring rate of 99%. Who dares to go there? The veteran rider next to him had his teeth chattering, and beads of sweat slid down his scars. The energy of the Dark Horse is only 10%, the propulsion is overloaded and the cracks in the new alloy are still expanding. Fu Han's ace comes in person, the rebels destroy the prototype, and the border dog is dead. Li Xiu jumped out of the cockpit, feeling a dull pain in the new muscles on his shoulders. The aftereffects of the nanocapsules were like pulsating electricity. He grabbed a preliminary points chip on the ground and injected it into the wrist module with a buzz. The blueprint interface jumped out with a hologram, the ghost progress soared to 50%, the fragmented AI core flashed a red alert, a double-edged sword, and the rebel destruction mode was hiding in the depths. Han Xiao's particle whip was coiled around her waist. Her short hair was wet with sweat and her cheeks were sticky. She glanced with cold eyes, Fu Han, you are a bitch. The blueprint will protect your homeland. I believe in you. Repair the machine and redraw the ghost mode within an hour, otherwise it will be destroyed. She threw out a tube of highly concentrated energy liquid and poured it in with a Gudong -3 Malawian kwachas fuel port. The blue flame test spray boom set off a heat wave of dust, the riders coughed and retreated, a girl rider stared wide-eyed and muttered, the particle queen is a dark horse. The energy is recharged to 30%, but the overload heat wave burns the cabin. Who can survive an hour of bloody battle? Xinu's private channel exploded, and the projection on her beautiful face was distorted with excitement and worry, Li Xiu. The titanium crystal layer is stable, and the waste heat of the new thruster is recovered by 80%, but the cracks seep into radiation. I remotely overlay the ghost blueprint and redraw the invisible teleportation module. The core pulse engine is connected with the fragmentation AI to predict the collapse and deformation of the black hole. Blade turning jet upgrade instant kill. Li Xiu tapped the module with ghostly fingers, the brain waves extended like blood and the human machine became one. The self-healing cracks in the nanocapsule sizzled and merged with the titanium crystal. The new alloy layer was covered with liquid flow, and the thick body lines were more streamlined. The 4 nozzles of the hybrid propeller under the foot extended, and the suspended magnetic track buzzed and accumulated energy. Tang Yu's encrypted image flashed in, and she gasped in the shadow of the black market in the background. The map is finally confirmed, the high-G curved laser network in the first section of the finals, the insect swarm fusion in the black hole simulation area in the middle section, and Fu Han's ace blockade at the end. The Zerg AI is targeting your signature, and the gravity swallows the machine like minced meat. Stopping at the camp, Tang Yu's image flashed again, confirmed on the map, the final bend, the fusion of the wormhole and black hole, the engulfment rate is 99%. Before he could finish his words, the track broadcast exploded like thunder. Fu Han's true body projection was huge, his sinister face was twisted, border dog, Li Xiu. The true face of the ghost blueprint, the prototype of rebel destruction. The worms merged with AI, and the border defense line turned gray overnight. Fly. If you win, will you use it to destroy humanity? Li Xiu clenched his hands on the black crystal, and Xian screamed to intervene. The countdown to the finals is 1 hour, and the insect swarm is approaching the border, and everyone will be wiped out if they choose wrongly. The final siren roared like a bell from hell, the 1-hour countdown reached 0, the underground track opened up thousands of meters wide, the neon veins pulsed like blood, and the betting machines, beep beep, crashed and exploded with thousands of spectators, sparks flying and heat waves hitting their nostrils. 30 top racing mechas started off with their tail flames tearing into the sky. Fu Han's trump card, King of Thorns, stood at the finish line and projected, his arms as thick as a python with electromagnetic whips, pop, to try to suck out the air, the spine armor squirmed like a living insect, the core cabin's red light was distorted, the pilot's sinister smile channel broadcast, Master Fu personally drives. The dark horse, the blueprint prototype destroys your border, and the black hole of the wormhole swallows corpses. Tide of ridicule, border garbage, -3 Malawian kwacha's thick and stupid, high-G curved laser net melting armor. Ace electromagnetic whip to rip apart the soul. The starting gun shook the dome with a bang, and Li Xiu's -3 Malawian kwacha's propeller exploded with blue flames. The man-machine united and sprang out. The thick behemoth slid smoothly on the gravel flow on the track. The suspended magnetic rails absorbed the ground and borrowed force. The roar of the engine overwhelmed the entire field. Han Xiao's particle whip followed him in a high maneuvering dive, and his whip shadow danced wildly to sweep up the weak machine. The first high-G corner is approaching, the laser net is like a torrential downpour, sizzling, cutting the air, the gravity flips 10G ballast, the ordinary driver's engine screams and loses control, boom, hits the curved wall and turns into a fireball, the driver screams and is ejected with arc convulsions all over his body, the density of the laser net is doubled. The G-force is twisting the bones, black how to turn Mahojia. The 3 leading machines laughed and locked, stupid cow, melted. The laser beam hit the -3 Malawian kwacha's shoulder armor, keng, sparks exploded, the new titanium crystal layer smoked and cracked, the energy alarm, beep, dropped to 60%, Li Xiu's vision shook and he cursed, suppress. Despair overwhelmed, Han Xiao used his whip to cover but was forced back by the laser, newcomer, the network density AI is targeting. The veterans in the driver circle stared and collapsed, can't we handle it together? Fu Han upgraded the trap, the G-force collapsed and swallowed the machine. The blueprint in Li Xiu's mind was redrawn and accelerated, and the ghost fragment AI predicted the laser trajectory. Invisible activation. The -3 Malawian kwacha's armor ripples and becomes invisible, the blue flames hum and turn silent, the thick body teleports sideways like a ghost and flashes a laser rainstorm, the suspended magnetic track ghostly curves, the blade arm stretches and gathers energy under high-G gravity, buzz, cuts off the laser transmitting tower, and, puff, the plasma bursts down. The leading driver's face was ashen in the cockpit, and the communication trembled, invisible teleportation. The thick armored ghost breaks the net. The energy blade cuts the tower like tofu, Master Fu, this dog is against the sky. The audience roared loudly, and a betting maniac rushed to the ground, the dark horse overtakes at the first corner. The second section of the black hole simulation area unfolds. The track walls squirm and, golu, spray green mist. The insect swarm merges with gravity and collapses like a black hole. Swarms of radiation bugs hiss and crawl all over the track. The sour green juice corrodes the track. The 5 personal guards of the King of Hades blocked the road, the plasma cannon roared red-hot, and the missile swarm attacked the face. Li Xiu's energy dropped by 40%, and the overloaded heat wave burned the flesh in the cabin. He gritted his teeth. Han Xiao, inject black crystal into the back door, delay the insect AI. Han Xiao connected with the tail of the whip, and the data torrent buzzed into the core of the track. The movement of the insect swarm was delayed for 0.5 seconds. Her particle whip blasted the ovary of the roadblock at high frequency, and green blood spattered. Cabin, cover, newcomers rush. But the black hole collapsed and grabbed the -3 Malawian Kwacha's tail, and the gravity-twisted armor, crunched and deformed. Ordinary riders fell into the gulu and melted, screaming, 99% of the wormhole is swallowed by the black hole. Pushing forward and melting, who will survive? The ridicule boiled, the black horse teleports and cannot withstand the collapse, Fu Han's bodyguards cannon rain slaughter. Li Xiu integrated man and machine to the extreme, the core pulse engine was overclocked, and the debris AI analyzed the collapse path, teleport chain lock. Mk3's invisible ripples flashed 5 times in a row, and the thick behemoth ejected and circled at the edge of the black hole. The remaining 2 guards whipped in panic. The electromagnetic whip cracked the air and locked onto Han Xiao. Her tail shield collapsed and rolled with a low curse, whip locked. Li Xiu locked the teleportation backstab, and the tip of the blade arced through the cockpit. Kang spurted out in a blur of blood and flesh, and the guards ejected. Falling into the black hole, he stared and died, teleport to kill. The Ace Thorn Whip. The monster AI predicts, Master Fu saves. The driver was stunned, and a light hand communication collapsed, pentakill personal guard. Invisible chain in the black hole, speed as light, first in the points list. The end is approaching, laser plus insect hole are fused in the climax curve, the true form of the king of the underworld is coming, the electromagnetic whip with both arms is like a giant python dancing wildly and cracking the track wall, the thorn armor is squirming and spraying missile rain, the core cabin Fu Han's sinister smile projection is enlarging, blueprint, trade for your life. The energy blade buzzes with energy, and the track tremors intensify. Li Xiu's energy was only 20%, and the cracks were smoking and the heat wave was steaming in the cabin. Han Xiao covered the whip sweep but was forced back by the whip shadow and the shield shattered, ace double whip, can't be analyzed. The audience gasped, and the boss knelt down and shouted, Fu Han drove it himself, the electromagnetic whip cracked the soul, and the dark horse died. Ordinary riders were wiped out and screamed, and the track became a meat grinder. Wanting to advance first, suppress the peak. Li Xiu's brainwave bloodline extends, the ghost blueprint is 100% activated, and the fragmented AI sweeps the enemy's weak points, core pulse overload, the spine joint gap is exposed for 0.3 seconds. The -3 Malawian Kwachas is fully invisible, teleporting to bully the Pluto King. On the flank, the thick arm blade gathered energy and stabbed out with a buzz of 5 meters. Fu Han counterattacked with his whip and cracked the new alloy layer with a snap. Sparks sprayed out like flesh and blood. The blood flowed back in Li Xiu's cabin and he gritted his teeth, man and machine become one. Han Xiao blasted the roadblock and swept away the particle whip, covered by green mist. Fu Han's expression in the cockpit was twisted, teleport close. The fragments analyze my weakness, the rebel prototype, destroy it. The electromagnetic whip locked the throat, but Li Xiu predicted the ejection, and the suspended magnetic rail absorbed the spinous armor to flip over with the help of the force, and the tip of the blade penetrated the gap. Puff penetrated the core cabin, the green plasma burst imploded with a bang, the thorns of the king of the underworld thorns danced and disintegrated, Fu Han was ejected and fell to the ground, his body was twitching with arcs, and he stared and collapsed, a sword piercing the heart. The blueprint, my hegemony. The Finnish grill buzzed up, and the holographic list flashed, Li Xiu and Han Xiao teamed up to win the championship. The complete projection of the ghost blueprint jumped out of the core of the track, the aroma of metal heat wave hit your nostrils, and the torrent of data surged. XINU screamed and intervened, downloading. AI Core plus Invisible Teleportation plus Destruction Prototype Elimination, 100% Home Guard version. The audience roared like a tsunami, the riders knelt down to worship, and an old technician trembled. The ace is killed, the blueprint is in hand. The dark horse is invincible, Fu Han is in ashes. Li Xiu slid outside the cabin, holding the black crystal mixed with sweat and blood. Han Xiao patted his shoulder with a rare smile. Clean, newcomer. Go back to the border, the insect wave is waiting. The firelight of the camp swayed, and Li Xiu sat cross-legged in front of the -3 Malawian Kwacha's cabin. The blueprint in his mind spun wildly. The ghost fragments pulsed like living blood. Activate, invisible coating plus space folding teleportation. The energy blade gathers energy for 5 meters, and the fragment AI analyzes the enemy's weak points. Han Xiao squatted next to him, his rare soft eyes flashed with approval. The integration of man and machine is the ultimate, the newcomer. I am jealous of the particle machine. Join forces, sweep the finals. There were whispers from outside the driver's circle, and a strong technician knelt down and handed the crystal. Brother, the energy is returned to 80%, the invisible wave test. The black hole swallows and teleports. Fu Han's ace is damned. The huge mouth of the underground track closed with a bang, the neon blood pulsed dimly, the remaining green mist was pungent, and the burnt black metal fragments, ding-ding, hit the thick armor of -3 Malawian Kwachas. Sweat and blood were steaming in Li Xiu's cabin, the energy alarm beeped as fast as his heartbeat, the cracks were smoking and the heat wave was roasting his flesh. He growled and tightened his grip on the control stick, the blue flame thruster hummed and gathered momentum, and the suspended magnetic track absorbed the ghosts on the ground and slid out. Han Xiao's particle mecha followed closely, the edge of the whiptail shield cracked and leaked, and his sweaty short-haired eyes locked on the star map. Newcomers, the border is in flames, the insect wave is engulfing the city, straight line through the ruins of the black market, save energy. Fu Han's remaining party is eyeing the blueprint. The underground city trembled like a beast waking up, and the remaining members of the audience whispered like ghosts crying, the dark horse wins the blueprint. But the border is dead, the second platoon leader and the old team are all wiped out. Who can save it? The interstellar shuttle capsule ejected from the surface with a buzz, the heavy roar of the engine tore through the border night sky, the green light of the radiation clouds was distorted, the fire pillars of the distant base soared into the sky, the aftermath of the explosion boomed like thunder, and the air was filled with a disgusting mixture of burnt flesh and sour rotten insect juice. Li Xiu's field of vision was scanned holographically, and red alerts were everywhere. The defense line collapsed, swarms of radiation bugs covered the ruins like a tide, the sickle claws tore through the steel wall and, crunched, into pieces, the remains of the second platoon commander's old mecha were scattered, the cockpit exploded and sprayed blood, and a charred corpse still held a broken gun in its arm, staring and dying. The blood-stained projection of Tang Yu's private channel flashed, and the flames in the background reflected her face as she gasped, Li Xiu. The insect hole has opened the main defense line, Fu Han's remaining black crystals are leading the way, and the radiation insect king is coming in person. Only the engineering area is left in the base, XINU is guarding the core warehouse, hurry. Han Xiao's whip shadow sweeps the tail to cover, the particle whip pops to track the insect reconnaissance, and the green juice splash cabin acid erodes the track. My mother protects the road, and the newcomers rush straight. But the energy is 20%, the overload heat wave melts the cabin, and crashes before landing. Li Xiu's human-machine integration brain waves extend, the fragment AI predicts the path of the insect tide, the -3 Malawian Kwacha's invisible ripples ripple side flashing radiation fog, the thick behemoth ejects and dives in the clouds, and the blue flames roar over the wind. The projection of the remaining soldiers outside the base collapsed and called for help. A wounded soldier with a face full of pus and trembling communicated, Guard Chief. All destroyed. The insect king's gravity field twisted the mecha like paper. The second platoon leader finally shouted, Li Xiu, blueprint, the home is destroyed. The mocking insect swarm hissed like a smile, rain of sickle claws poured down, the engine of the ordinary remaining machine screamed out of control and crashed. Fireballs rolled down, and the driver screamed and ejected, covered in acid juice and convulsed. Radiation eats bones. Who can stop the insect king? The -3 Malawian kwachas made a hard landing and smashed through the ruins. The suspended magnetic rail absorbed the remaining rails and used the force to glide. The cracks in the alloy expanded and leaked radiation. Li Xiu's vision in the cabin was blurred. The residual effect of the nanocapsule pulsated to heal his shoulder injury, but it could not suppress the heat wave and boil his blood. He jumped into the cabin, trampling on the scorched earth with blood and sweat. Han Xiao landed on the ground and patted his shoulder, with rare solemnity in his cold eyes. "Hold on, newcomers. XINU is included." The neon lights in the engineering area were half extinguished, and the projection of XINU's beautiful face was distorted and haggard. The flames of the warehouse in the background were licking. Li Xiu. The blueprint download is 100%, and the prototype of destruction has been removed from the homestead version, but the assembly cabin is contaminated by radiation, the quantum engine serial connection failure rate is 70%, and the deformed armor is losing nanometers. Who will repair it? She threw out the wrist module data and a torrent of data rushed into the blueprint interface, and the ghost hologram appeared: core pulse upgrade quantum engine, multidimensional fire control prelock target, deformed blade turning teleportation chain. The remaining technicians in the warehouse coughed and knelt down, and an oily-faced boy pointed at the blueprint tremblingly. "Genius." Fu Han's remaining party blocked the energy crystal, and the insect wave radiation corroded the assembly arm. The prototype of the blood guard was just formed, and the engine exploded 3 times during the test spray. Outside the pile of old corpses in the second row, who dares to test drive? The sour heat wave in the air hit the nostrils, the assembly arm squeaked and spasmed, and the semi-melted titanium crystal layer dripped and corroded the ground. Li Xiu's brainwaves were injected into the module, the man-machine integration extended blueprint, and the nano-self-healing pulsation rushed into the core. Activate, the quantum engine is overloaded and recovered, the deformed armor is liquidly reorganized, and the multidimensional fire control AI predicts the insect's weakness. The blood guard mecha, bang, awakened, the lines of its thick body exploded, the quantum engine roared with blue flames, multiple nozzles on the soles of the feet suspended and gathered momentum, the surface of the armor rippled for stealth tests, and the blade arms extended to gather energy and, buzzed, to cut the air for 10 meters. XINU screamed and the projection enlarged her eyes. Successful connection. Advance the speed of sound 3 times, the shield is immune to radiation. But the radiation bug outpost is approaching. Test drive and fight. Han Xiao's particle whip was coiled around his waist, throwing out high-concentration energy crystals to inject into the blood guard fuel port. My team has joined, and the newcomers will lead it. Tang Yu's intelligence. Fu Han was seriously injured by ejection, and the remaining party's evidence was locked. The rebel black crystal was implanted into the insect king AI, causing the tide to swallow the border. Tang Yu's encrypted image flashed in, and his blood-stained face flashed alertly. Confirmed. Fu Han's underground remnant party's communication was intercepted, and he said, "The blueprint is lost, the border is in ashes. The Insect King's gravity field plus the Rebel Mecha Alliance are doomed." The technician boy knelt down with his eyes wide open. The quantum blue flame is smokeless, and the invisible wave scares the insects. But who can handle the thousands of insects outside? The crisis is at its peak, alarms are blasting, radiation bug outposts are pouring into the engineering area like a green tide, sickle claws are tearing apart the steel door with a hiss and crunching, the corroded tracks of the acid fountain are sizzling and white smoke is emitting, and the gravity field is distorting the air and crushing the remaining machines. The ordinary technician screamed and ran away. A strong man was pierced through the chest by a sickle claw. The blood and green juice sprayed out and fell to the ground with a snap and convulsed. Insect King pulse. Gravity twists the bones, and the blood guard's thick armor also melts. Li Xiu jumped into the blood guard's cockpit. Man and machine were integrated to the extreme, and his brain waves rushed into the quantum core like blood. The engine roared thickly and turned to sonic speed to warm up, and the heat wave did not damage the shield. He cursed in a low voice, "Test drive, sweep." The blood guard thrusters burst into the air with a boom, the thick monster levitating magnetic rails ghostly sprang out, invisible ripples flashed sideways and acid rain flashed, and the deformed blade gathered energy and buzzed across the insect swarm. The first wave of 1,000 insect claws rained down, the gravity field was 10 g ballast, the engine of the ordinary residual aircraft screamed and collapsed and turned into a fireball. The pilot was ejected and covered with sour rot. He howled miserably, "The outpost is swallowed by radiation." New blood guard, the bulky prototype crashed. Xinu's projection looked worried and distorted, energy alarm, quantum overload heat peak 30 seconds endurance limit, gravity twist deformation armor. Han Xiao's particle whip maneuvered to dive for cover, and the whip shadow blasted away the green fog of insect eggs, but was pulled by gravity and rolled over with a low curse. Insect King pulse lock, the newcomer cabin exploded. The insect swarm squirmed like a gulu, and the sour juice rotten track was slippery. Li Xiu's field of vision was shaking, the heat wave in the cabin was boiling, and the energy was reduced by 80%, but the fragment AI swept through the weak points. Multidimensional fire control locks hundreds of targets, and the teleportation chain breaks the field. The blood guard quantum engine overclocked and boomed and ejected at 3 times the speed of sound. The edge of the black hole was invisible and flashed 10 times in a row due to gravity distortion. The thick arm blade turned and sprayed blue flames, whoosh, to pierce the pulse source of the insect king. Green slurry exploded and poured down, and thousands of insects spasmed and melted in a chain. The severed limbs of the sickle claws, clack, rained down, the shield was intact and ripples flickered, and the energy blade focused 10 meters to sweep across the remaining group, sizzling, plasma cut paper. The remnant technicians threw themselves on the ground with wide eyes, and a boy's communication collapsed and trembled, sweep thousands of bugs. The speed of sound breaks gravity, and the blades rain like gods. The shield is completely damaged, and the second platoon leader is resurrected. Han Xiao swept away the tail flames with his whip, and his eyes flashed in rare approval. "Fuck it. The team is formed. My right wing, the new center." Tang Yu's intelligence report, Fu Han's evidence is solid, the rebel mecha troops are gathering 10 miles away, and the Ace, Soul-Eating Thorn, group is attacking the base. The first battle of the Blood Guard is dead. At the peak of oppression, thunder roared from the outside. Fu Han's rebellious mecha troops were like black clouds. 5 Soul-Eating Thorn Ace machines stood tall. The thorn squirmed and the electromagnetic whip was tried to be drawn. The red light in the core cabin was distorted. The leading projection smiled sinisterly. Master Fu ordered, "Blueprint Blood Guard, destroy the border." The Insect King's coalition forces were crushed. The base trembled, and the green light of radiation reflected the Blood Guard's thick armor, and the energy returned. Charging slowly, beep, Xinu screamed, the Ace electromagnetic whip is upgraded, the quantum engine heat peak is approaching, the team is at a disadvantage, 3 against 5. The remaining soldiers knelt down and roared in despair, the soul-devouring spine split the soul, and the Blood Guard died on the test drive. The home was reduced to ashes. Li Xiu's eyes were locked, the Blood Guard engine roared and gathered momentum, the blood of man and machine was boiling, the crisis was like a mountain, and a new battle scene opened with blood. The 5 soul-devouring thorn aces were surrounded by dark clouds. The spines squirmed like living creatures and whispered, "Gulu." The electromagnetic whip, pop, tried to suck out the air and burst out blue arcs. The distorted red light projection in the core cabin of the lead mecha enlarged with a sinister smile. Master Fu's holy order, Blood Guard prototype, the quantum blueprint is destroyed. Ashes fly, the Insect King coalition crushes the residue. The steel door of the base engineering area creaked and twisted, the heavy gun barrel's red thermal energy storage buzzed like a honeycomb, the green light of the radiation fog reflected the thick armor of the Blood Guard, the energy recharged, died, slowly climbed to only 15%, and the heat peak alarm flashed dazzlingly. The brain waves in Li Xiu's cabin extended the quantum core, and the blood of man and machine merged like fire. The nanopulsation of the shoulder injury healed itself, but it could not suppress the heat wave's steaming sweat and blood. He cursed and gritted his teeth, 5 against 3. The electromagnetic whip upgrade locks the soul, and the energy is inferior. The heavy artillery hit the armor. The vision is holographically scanned, the soul-eating thorns are pre-locked for multidimensional fire control, and the projection of the ordinary residual machine collapses, the ace thorn whip soul-draining. The pile of corpses of the second platoon leader proves that the new blood guards are thick and stupid, and they are gone in the first round. The right wing of Han Xiao's particle mecha was circling, and the cracked edge of the whip tail shield was sizzling, and the leakage was getting worse. Her cold eyes rarely flashed with worry. Newcomer, cover on the right wing. My particle whip is whipping the thorns, but the heavy artillery is firing, and the blood guard center can't handle it. Xinu's beautiful projection Yan's face was twisted and pale, tongues of fire in the engineering area licked the background, and her fingers were flying in a torrent of data. The heat peak is approaching, the shield is immune to radiation but the electromagnetic pulse puncture rate is 80%. Nano repair is activated, hold on for 10 seconds. The remaining technician knelt down and trembled. A greasy-faced boy with a face full of pus and blisters broke down the communication. The soul-eating thorns were made by Fu Han himself. The thorns electromagnetically locked the brain waves, and the driver's soul was gone. The blood guard tried to drive the bug sweeper luck, and now they are dead, a pile of corpses in their home. The air was sour and hot, and the insect juice was stained. Pitter-patter, dripped and corroded the track, the foundation trembled like an animal panting, and despair was overwhelming like a mountain. Li Xiu's heart sank. The blueprint for Homeland has just awakened. Fu Han's remaining party's black crystal has been implanted into the Insect King, the border is dead, and the interstellar pattern is wiped out. Can't fall, outweak the situation. Heavy artillery volleys, boom, and thunder explodes. 5 red-hot light beams tear through the fog and blast directly into the blood guard center. Heat waves scorch the sky and distort the vision, and the rail melt, sizzles, white smoke fountains. The engine of the ordinary residual aircraft shrieked out of control and turned into fireballs rolling down. The pilot ejected and howled miserably. The thorn cannon melts the bones. The blood guard's thick armor is paper. Li Xiu locked his eyes with cold eyes, and the psychological game was electric and flint. The shield exploded directly and hard, and the energy was consumed by the side flash magnetic rail sliding. The only option was to switch modules. The brain waves surged into the core, and the Blood Guardian's man-machine integration was extremely smooth. The joystick extended like blood. He roared, transformation blade teleportation chain lock, block module. The lines of the thick body stretched and rippled, invisible waves flashed 3 meters sideways, and the blade arm gathered energy and turned, swish swish, jet of blue flames, crossing like shields, clang, blocked the heavy artillery, plasma sparks exploded and poured down, the shield ripples flashed wildly without damage, the quantum engine roared over the roar of the cannon, the shock force caused the heat wave in the seismic cabin. Li Xiu gritted his teeth, 0.3 seconds difference, the brain wave delay melted. Han Xiao's particle whip exploded an accidentally fired missile, and green mist splashed into the cabin and corroded the track. She was wet with sweat and cursed, the side flash is accurate. My right wing fire is suppressed. Xinu screamed and the projection enlarged her eyes, the block was successful. The nanoflow was injected into the shield, and the heat peak was alleviated by 5%, but the thorns are locked, and the counterattack window is 3 seconds. The technician boy threw his eyes wide on the ground, the pus bubble trembled in the communication, the blood guard teleported to block the cannon. The thick behemoth was like a ghost, the blade and shield were intact. The newcomer's brainwaves merged with the god level, and the second platoon leader was resurrected after watching. The leading projection of the soul-eating thorn froze with a sinister smile, impossible. The quantum prototype is bulky, how can it block the 5-gun salvo? Li Xiu sneered in his heart, if they want to advance, they must suppress it first. The more fierce their ridicule, the more vicious the counterattack. The multidimensional fire control prelock target flashed, and the weak point of the brainwave scan, the Thorn electromagnetic core was exposed. He controlled the blood guard suspended magnetic track to spout out ghostly, and the deformed blade gathered 10 meters of energy and, buzzed to cut the air, rain of missiles, locked explosion. The quantum engine overclocked and ejected at 3 times the speed of sound. The invisible flashes occurred 5 times in the gravity ripples at the edge of the black hole. The missile cabin exploded with a click. Hundreds of blue flame missiles swarmed like a swarm of swarms, pre-locking the spindle joints and the core cabin, and the trajectory teleported chain locks pierced the electromagnetic fog. The soul-eating thorn whipped wildly to intercept, but 30 puffs escaped the net and penetrated the armor. The green plasma and plasma sprayed into the air and exploded continuously. The engines of the 3 ace mechas screamed and crashed, and the fireballs rolled down. The cockpits exploded with electric arcs and, sizzling, souls flew away. The spines of the 2 remaining machines spasmed and screamed. The lead projection collapsed and screamed, blueprint fire control prelock. Master Fu, the prototype is against the sky. Retreat. The air smelled of burnt metal and plasma, the track was scorched with black pits and smoke, the blood guard suspended in charged blue flames and roared, the energy dropped by 60%, and the heat peak alarm flashed red. Li Xiu was steaming with sweat and blood in the cabin, and his mind was relaxed and tight. 5 machines, 3 were destroyed, and 2 were disabled. But Lieutenant General Fu Han did not show up, and Tang Yueti's trump card, Soul-Eating Thorn, group was revealed, and there was a hidden danger. Han Xiao's whip shadow swooped in to hit the target, and the particle whip snapped off the thorns of a machine. He rarely praised with cold eyes, the rain of missiles is clean. The center of the team is invincible, and I can keep up with you on the right wing. First. Transformation blade nano reorganization, heat peak suppression, Li Xiu, you are one man and machine, the savior of the border. The remnant technician shouted and worshipped, and the oil-faced boy burst into tears, destroy the 3 aces. The blood guard is as thick as a magic weapon. The rest of the party is scared to death, there is hope for their homeland. The projection of the remaining soldiers in the distance turned to ecstasy, the newcomer is sweeping away the thorns. The soul of the 2nd platoon leader is at peace. But the joy did not dissipate, thunder exploded on the horizon, and the black shadow of the standalone machine sprang out at high speed. Lieutenant General Fu Han's ace, Pluto, stood, the dark carapace pulsating with red lines, the gravity cannon barrels of both arms, buzzing, to accumulate energy, the electromagnetic tail whip like a dragon's tail pumping air and exploding, the projection's sinister face smiled ferociously. Master Fu personally gave to Hades, the prototype of the blood guard, high-speed fighting, crushing. Pluto dived at 4 times the speed of sound and boomed to tear away the fog. The 20G gravity field twisted the orbit and shredded the debris. The ordinary particle machine Han Xiao was dragged by the whip tail and rolled. ZZ, the shield shattered. She roared and ejected to cover, newcomer, Deputy General Ace. I dragged the tail spine. XINU's projection screamed and twisted, gravity pulse locked the cabin, the blood guard's deformation tolerance is at its limit. The technician boy screamed and threw himself on the ground, Pluto's thorn whipped the soul, the pilot's brain wave collapsed, the 2nd platoon commander's old department proved. The blood guard was dead. Li Xiu's heart was beating wildly, and the psychological game started again, Pluto's high-speed advantage, the armor fusion, outsmarting the weakness. The AI prediction of brainwave extension fragments revealed that the core of Pluto's red pattern was exposed in an instant. He roared, module switch, teleportation chain high-speed mode. The blood guard quantum engine exploded with a boom, chasing 3 times the speed of sound, black ripples flashed and fought, the deformed blade turned whoosh to block the clang, sparks of the tail spine, the heat wave and gravity were like a mountain. Li Xiu's vision shook with bloodshot eyes. Withstand 15 seconds, overload explosion. The high-speed fighting air tore, whooshing wind, the Pluto gravity cannon bombed. At close range, the Blood Guard's thick armor crunched and cracked and leaked red heat, the nanoliquid dripped and corroded the track. Li Xiu bit the blood, just a hair's breadth away, and his brain wave was delayed and he was gone. Han Xiao's particle whip assisted the pop, tail, XINU real-time repair data, buzz, note, crack repair 30%. Hold on, newcomer. Pluto's projection enlarged with a ferocious smile, heavy prototype, high-speed strangulation. Mr. Fu is laughing. Li Xiu's eyes flashed with cold light, the multidimensional fire control lock core teleport chain, the blade arm gathered energy, buzz, 10 meters instantaneous explosion, puff, penetrated the red lines, Pluto pierced the red lines. The engine, rumbling, convulsed and tilted back, the gravity field collapsed and the green mist dispersed. Li Xiu's pursuit missile rained down, 5 blue flames, swish, locked the hatch, and the fireball rolled down and, bang, smashed into the crater. The deputy general howled miserably and was ejected with arcs of electricity all over his body. Prototype. Counterattack. Master Fu, report. The Blood Guard gasped in suspension, the cracks in the armor expanded and sizzled to leak heat, the energy dropped by 30%, and the heat peak flashed to the limit. Han Xiao jumped back to the particle machine and praised the filming cabin with cold eyes, barely repulsed. The team is intact. I witnessed the battle of gods. XINU projected tears, her beautiful face admiring. Armor repair started. Border Guard Chief, you save our homeland. The remnant of technicians roared, Pluto is dead. High-speed winding blade instant kill, Blood Guard man-machine integration legend, the new overlord. Li Xiu relaxed in the cabin and instantly alerted, brainwave scan, the victory has turned slightly, but Fu Han himself has not shown up, and there is a hidden danger for the Insect King Alliance. Tang Yu's encrypted channel's blood-stained projection flashed, and she gasped and locked eyes. Li Xiu intercepted the secret agreement between Fu Han and the Insect Alliance, the ultimate black crystal implantation, the border general attack is coming, the Insect King plus the rebels are all on the border, the base is dead. The crisis reappeared, the green tide on the distant horizon squirmed and hissed like beasts waking up, the Blood Guard engine roared and gathered momentum, and a new battle began. The green tide on the horizon squirms and explodes like a living tsunami. Thousands of Zerg larvae tear the rock formations with their sickle claws and splash acid green juice. The corrosive air emits a pungent sour and putrid smell and goes straight into the nose. The steel walls of the border temporary base engineering area crunch and twist and bend, and heavy artillery. The red heat at the nozzle was buzzing, but only 10% of the radiation fog was left. The remaining technicians knelt down, trembling and pale, and the pussy kid howled, the Insect King's black crystal has finally been planted. Fu Han's coalition attacked, and the base was reduced to ashes. The heat peak of the Blood Guard exploded, and the corpses of the newcomers were piled next to the leader of the second row. Han Xiao, the shield of the particle machine whip, sizzling, leaked violently, and her short hair was sweaty and her cold eyes flashed with worry. The green tide larval sickle Wang Feng, the particle whip can't be used, my right wing collapsed. XINU's beautiful face was distorted with tears in the projection, and her fingers were flying in the torrent of data. Nano repair is lagging behind, the armor is reduced by 30% and the cracks are expanding. The general attack is over. Tang Yu's blood-stained projection panted with sharp eyes. Li Xiu, the core of the black crystal pulsating Insect King has awakened, and Fu Han is on the verge of selling all the track blueprints to the Zerg. He has evidence of traitor to the enemy, but hold on before broadcasting. The air is steaming with heat waves, mixed with insect juice, and the sour smell hits your nose. The base alarm flashes red and pierces the eyes, beeping like a death knell. In the distance, the rebel army's hundreds of black clouds are crushing the black clouds, and the engines are thundering. Fu Han's projection magnifies and he smiles sinisterly. His body is seriously injured by arcs, but he is furious. Blood Guard origin type. I personally lead Baiji Ming to encircle and suppress. The Insect King Black Crystal swallows the blueprint, and the border home turns into insect excrement. The green tide larvae swarmed with their swords, the acid mist fountain, pop, corroded the track potholes and emitted white smoke, and the engine of the ordinary residual aircraft screamed out of control and bombed into fireballs. Rolling down, the pilot ejected and howled miserably. The larvae of the Sickle King are endless. Fu Han sold the blueprint to summon the sea of insects, and the newcomers were thickly armored and made of paper. Li Xiu's cabin was steaming with sweat and blood, and his shoulder injury was causing nanopulsation and burning pain. 100 machines attacked together, the Black Crystal Insect King. Energy disadvantage, armor limit, outsmart and upgrade. The vision hologram scanned the green tide's weakness, the larvae's sickle joints pulsating black crystal fragments. Tang Yu's encrypted channel flashed. Han Xiao, the energy crystal is highly concentrated into the blood guard. Han Xiao's particle machine dived and whipped away the acid mist. She jumped from the cabin with her short hair flying and cold eyes showing rare determination. She clicked the crystal box around her waist into the interface of the blood guard's outer armor. High concentration fuel buzzed into the quantum engine. The blue flame burst through the green tide. She roared, "I'm the ace of the track crystal, supply is in progress." Pivot, burn Fu Han. The lines of the blood guard's thick body flashed wildly, the energy needle, died, surged by 80%, the heat peak alarm turned green, the armor cracked, sizzling, nanoliquid self-healing and fusion, the quantum core roared, boom, the human-machine integration was extremely smooth, and the joystick extended like blood without any lag. Li Xiu's eyes exploded with coldness, and his brainwaves surged to unlock the home defending card, Ghost Mode, activate. The invisible ripples of the blood guard were fully covered with thick armor, and the engine's blast shot at 4 times the speed of sound merged into the green tide like a ghost. The Sickle King's larvae hissed and swung the air randomly, and the acid juice sprayed, plop, on the rotten track but could not be caught. In the center of the green tide, at the core of the Insect King larvae group, the black crystal pulsation, Golu, whispers like a heartbeat, the sickle claws intertwined with the iron net, Kaka, blockade, the rebel forward ratchet clumsily dives, bomb, the heavy artillery to test sweep, the driving projection taunts, ghost. The blood guard is thick the clown beast's invisible joke, Mr. Fu's multidimensional fire control pre-locked hundreds of targets, the ghost teleportation chain flashed 10 times in a row and pierced the iron net, and the deformed blade's energy-concentrated turning, buzz, cut through the air with a blue flame that exploded 10 meters away. A wave of Sickle King larvae puffed and pierced through the joints, the black crystal fragments popped and exploded into the green pulp fountain, more than a dozen larvae convulsed and rolled and hissed, their souls dispersed, the invisible ripples of the blood guard escaped without damage, and the quantum cannon barrel's lipstick thermal energy storage buzzed like an animal's breath. He roared, "Lock the nest." The muzzle of the cannon boomed with thunder, and the quantum light beam tore through the green tide and blasted directly into the insect nest. The black crystal core, bang, turned into a sea of fire and green mist steamed. Hundreds of larvae flew into ashes and a sour smell rose into the sky. The pits in the nest were filled with smoke and residual limbs squirmed. Han Xiao's particle machine circled the whipped shadow on the right wing to help disperse the remaining insects, and his cold eyes widened with rare tremors. Ghosts instantly kill the group of larvae. I see ghosts on the track, the blood guardian man and machine are integrated, the center is invincible. The energy is stable, the ghost mode is upgraded with nanometer hidden frequency. Li Xiu, you destroy the nest, the savior of the border, God. The remnants of the technician shouted and worshipped, the oily-faced boy was shaking with tears and sweating, the Sickle King's body was shattered in one blow, the thick-armored ghost of the blood guard traveled thousands of miles, and the newcomer was summoned by the blueprint. Worms, the pile of corpses in their homeland is overturning. The projection of the remaining soldiers in the distance collapsed and turned to ecstasy, the ghost blood guards. The souls of the second platoon are safe, the border is not dead. But the joy disappeared like a mist, and the black clouds of Fu Han's hundreds of machines rummed over the border, and the leading figure, the dark thorn beast, was sizzling with serious injuries, but he smiled sinisterly. Prototype Ghost. I personally sent hundreds of thorns to encircle and suppress the enemy, and the blood guard smashed them. The thorn whips popped to blast the air and exploded with blue arcs. The gravity gun barrels buzzed to accumulate energy and distort the track. The rebel mechas formed a clumsy formation to block the enemy. The crisis is overwhelming. The remnants of the green tide hiss and reunite with the black crystal pulsation and regenerate. The base's heavy artillery bombs test fire but is intercepted by the thorn net and sparks explode. The heat wave scorches the sky and whooshes, distorts the vision. The air is burned with metal and the sour smell of the insects is pungent and stings the nose and lungs. Li Xiu's heart was burning with blood, and he was playing a psychological game. Hundreds of machines were besieging him, the ghost's endurance was at its limit, and a single machine broke in and beheaded Fu Han. The AI predicts the weakness of the brainwave extended fragments, the electromagnetic lock delay of the rebel spine joints. He roars, single machine burst into formation, full quantum propulsion. The blood guard ghost mode is at its ultimate, the engine rumps and ejects at 5 times the speed of sound. Black ripples pierce the black clouds in a row. The first spine machine turns around awkwardly and misses with a pop explosion of gas. The shaped blade turned and penetrated the core with a whoosh, green liquid spurted out, and the driver howled miserably and the projection collapsed. Teleport slash. Thick armor as lightning. Li Xiu teleported without stopping and the chain flashed again. The second and third spines destroyed the blade arm and crossed with clang sparks. The quantum missile, whoosh, swarm lock exploded 4 machines, and the fireball rolled down and smashed into the pit. The rebel array was in chaos, and the projections of the 10 generals screamed, Master Fu. Prototype man and machine merge into one ghost and god. The bulky beast stalks and kills at high speed. Li Xiu blood guard suspended magnetic rails moved ghostly. Brainwave fire control prelocked the weak points of the 10 generals, and the deformed blade gathered energy for 20 meters. Buzz, the arc light cut, 5 swords were cut into pieces in a row. Crack, the stumps were scattered. The gravity cannons rebound. Boom, the close-range blocking shield rippled wildly without damage. The heat wave surged in the cabin, and the sweat and blood rained down. His teeth were bloody, delayed by 0.1 seconds, and the soul was scattered. Han Xiao swooped down with his particle whip and cut off the tail spine with a pop. His cold eyes trembled and whispered, a single machine can attack 10 generals. I witnessed the god of slaughter on my right wing, the center of the team, the overlord. The first fire control is accurate. The nano repair is real-time, and the armor is not cracked. Li Xiu, you swept through the rebel formation. The technician boy screamed to the ground, bursting into tears. Kill 10 generals in a row. The ghost blade kills the iron wall, the legend of the blood guard, the new border king. Fu Han's netherthorn behemoth's engine convulsed and fell back, the seriously injured electric arc sizzling fiercely, and the Yin prey projection cracked with a ferocious smile. Impossible, the track blueprint sold insects to fund the enemy. Half of the 100 machines were killed. The blood guard prototype is against the sky. Li Xiu pursued the quantum cannon and blasted the center with a boom, and the behemoth's shield exploded into pieces of green. The fog cleared, the thorn whip whipped wildly and failed, and the red light in the cockpit distorted and screamed, Master Fu sold the evidence. The human alliance knows, die. Tang Yu's sharp eyes flashed with blood stains, and the projection cut to the full-frequency broadcast, and a torrent of encrypted data exploded, the whole border army. Fu Han controls the illegal track to sell blue. The evidence of the secret agreement of the Black Crystal Alliance, the traitorous enemy, the Zerg is attacking the enemy. The broadcast buzzed across the stars, and the human alliance projection shook and turned furious. Fu Han traitor. The blueprint to counterattack the blood guard, the border is not destroyed. The rebel pilot's eyes widened and he trembled, the boss's enemy was exposed. The alliance was furious and wiped out. Fu Hanming shook the blood guard away with a twitch of the thorn tail, and he was seriously injured and escaped into the black crystal abyss in the core area of the Zerg. The residual smile of the projection was, the blood guard, the final weapon of destruction, the black crystal insect god awakens, and the border flies away. The blood guard levitated and gasped, blue flames roared, the armor nano sizzled to heal itself, the energy was reduced by 50% and the heat peak was suppressed, the remnants of the green tide hissed and dispersed. The lair was still burning in the sea of fire, and the rebels were half destroyed with fireballs everywhere. The smell of burnt metal rose to the sky. Li Xiu's cabin suddenly alerted, and the black crystal in the core area of the brainwave scan was pulsing violently. Fu Han escapes, destroy the weapon, the final bloody battle. Han Xiao jumped back to the particle machine, with cold eyes and a rare smile of approval. The conspiracy is revealed, kill everyone. I in the center, the insect god has been killed. Xinu's tearful projection of beautiful admiration, Bien reshaping the landscape, Li Xiu, the interstellar overlord. The remnants of the technicians roared to the sky and worshipped, the evidence of treason shocked the alliance. The blood guard killed 10 generals alone, Fu Han fled, and the new king came. The thundering engine of the alliance's reinforcements approached, and the Thgulu of the black crystal abyss on the horizon roared like a beast waking up. The crisis is locked, and the blood is burning in the new battle. The fire in the base engineering area is still burning, the metal stumps click, as they cool, twist and emit white smoke. The sour and rotten smell of insect juice fills the lungs like poisonous mist. The engines of hundreds of alliance reinforcements bang and thunder descend on the track, and the projection scan collapses. They collapsed and roared, Fu Han's treason was exposed. The blood guard slaughtered hundreds of thorns alone, and the border was not destroyed. The new king Li Xiu, the homeland is reborn. The remnants of the technicians knelt down with oily faces pale and trembling, and the pus-filled boy howled with tears and blood. The reinforcements are late, Ghost the God War has slaughtered 10 generals, Fu Han has escaped, and the black crystal abyss beast has awakened. The whole situation is complete. Li Xiu's blood was boiling in the blood cabin, his shoulder was injured, nanopulsation was burning, the energy needle was stuck with 50% red flash, the heat peak suppressed the buzzing, and his brain wave was interrupted. Even the quantum core gasped, and the holographic remnants of the field of vision retreated. The black crystal pulse, Gulu, was like a heart beating wildly, and the psychology was heavy. Fu Han hid the weapon of destruction, single-player pursuit and trapped himself in the abyss. Although the reinforcements arrived, the blueprint factory was not destroyed and supplies continued. Xinu's projected beautiful face was distorted and beads of sweat were rolling down. The torrent of data from her fingers clicked on the virtual keys. The nanotube line extended from the engineering arm and injected into the thick armor interface of the blood guard. The blueprint upgrade projection flashed an alarm, anti-insect acid shield module fusion. Energy blocked at the trough, AI predicts 80% risk of chip melting, thick armor cracks expand, and the upgrade failure rate soars. Han Xiao's particle machine circled and dived on the right wing, the whip shield, sizzling, leaking violently, short hair sweating, cold eyes flashing with concern. I have seen upgrades explode on the track, blood. The heat peak of the way center has been suppressed to its limit. The supply line is endless before the insect god awakens. Fu Han's remaining party has reorganized, the team is dead. Tang Yu's blood-stained projector breather locked his eyes on the black crystal abyss. I have the deployment plan for infiltrating the enemy camp, but the blueprint factory has an endless supply of insects, reinforcements and recruits. Clumsy array, only 10% of the heavy artillery radiation fog, the countdown to the total attack. The reinforcements piloted the projection to taunt and collapse, the blood guard prototype God War legend. The energy is half-destructed and the ultimate machine is rumored. The black crystal brood activates the border and the new king dies. The heat wave in the air mixed with the stench of burnt metal hit your nose. The red flashing beep of the base alarm was as harsh as the whisper of death. Li Xiu gritted his teeth and bloody roared, the upgrade cannot fail. Xinu, the antiparasitic acid liquid is fully injected with AI prediction and strong melting. Man and machine can handle it together. The lines of the blood guard's thick body rippled wildly, and the nanoliquid, Golu, boiled. Injecting into the joints, the acid shield module, buzzed to gather energy in the blue-green vortex, the AI chip, popped, hot melt sparks burst into the cabin and distorted the vision. His brain waves extended to the limit of incineration, the quantum core roared, boom, and the fusion was successful. The new recruits lined up in the -3 Malawian Kwacha's residual machine, the engine screamed and clumsily, and the greasy-faced driver opened his eyes and trembled, acid shield self-healing green whirlpool. AI prediction light network flashes, blood guards thick armor ghosts and gods upgrade. The new recruits are defiant, Fu Han's supply line is buried. Xinu projected flushed tears, her beautiful face twisted in admiration, and her fingers stopped the torrent of data, extreme fusion. The anti-insect shield is 100% acid resistant, and the AI prediction is delayed by 0.01 seconds, Li Xiu, you are the savior of the border and the interstellar overlord. Li Xiu's brain waves are surging wildly. The integration of man and machine is as smooth as blood. The blood guard engine bangs and blasts out blue flames at 6 times the speed of sound. The deformed blade turns and teleports. The chain lock cuts the air without a shadow. The joystick extends without any lag. Compared with the reinforcements, the -3 Malawian Kwachas turns awkwardly. Crack, sparks flew, and he roared, organize the remnant army. Han Xiao trains new recruits, Tang Yu infiltrates and marks the coordinates, raids the supply line, the blueprint factory is ashes. Han Xiao's cold eyes rarely jump to the cabin with short hair flying, the particle whip popped, the air and the recruits lined up. She obeyed the order with a trembling voice and growled, the ace of the track will teach you how to turn around. Whip shadow locks on the target, dives for last-ditch shots, with the rest of the central boss Fu Han. The recruit driver swallowed his saliva and widened his eyes. The oil-faced boy burst his pus bubbles and shouted, personally trained by the Queen of Particles. My right wing is very fast, blood the guard center is invincible. We are counterattacking. Tang Yu's blood-stained projector flashed, and the stealth module, Z, was activated to penetrate into the enemy camp on the edge of the black crystal. The deployment map was encrypted and intercepted, the coordinates of the blueprint factory were locked, and Fu Han's hiding place was pulsating. The infiltration was successful. The thunder of the assault team's engines crushes the remaining fog of the green tide, the leader of the blood guard ghost mode ripples invisible, the AI predicts the weakness of the Beithorn guard in pre-locking the supply line, the acid shield buzzes, unfolds, the green vortex is immune to the acid juice fountain, the puff corrodes the track and emits white smoke. Fu Han's remnant party's blueprint factory steel castle stands, the black crystal pulsating energy supply, Golu, lows, the ratchet machine clumsily patrols the whip and pops blue arcs in the air, and the pilot projector smiles ferociously, reinforcement remnants are coming. Lord Fu, the Pluto King has awakened, the blueprint is the source of the Insect King, and the Blood Guard energy is half destructed. It's a joke. Buzz charged up and distorted the space. The first wave of recruit -3 Malawian Kwacha's array dived, bombed, and was intercepted by the thorn net. The fireball rolled down and howled miserably, spine whip and iron wall. Blocked by the bulky beast, the supply line cannot be broken, completely destroyed. Han Xiao's particle machine's right wing whip shadow pop assisted in cutting off 2 spines, and his cold eyes trembled. The recruits are papered, the blood guard center opens the way. I witnessed the slaughter of the gods. The blood guard's teleportation chain pierced the iron net with a whoosh, the AI predicted the fire net's pre-flash thorn whip with a delay of 0.01 seconds, the deformed blade gathered energy for 30 meters and buzzed, arc light cut, the first wave of 10 thorns, puffed, pierced the core green pulp fountain, and the pilot's projection collapsed and screamed, teleport prediction is so accurate. Thick armor is like a flash. Electric ghosts, Master Fu's blueprint guard instant kill. Li Xiu's unstoppable quantum missile swarm, swish, locked and exploded 20 machines, the fireball, bang, smashed into the pit and burned the metal with a stinky smell, the anti-insect shield rippled wildly and blocked the acid mist without damage, the brainwave multidimensional fire control chained 50 targets, and the smooth control of man and machine was the ultimate. The recruits stared wide-eyed and trembled, shouting and kneeling. The blood guard breaks the iron wall with a single machine. The AI optical network pre-locks thousands of targets, and the deformed blade arcs to kill the thorns. We worship the central overlord. The blueprint factory steel fort alarm flashed red and, beep, the gravity cannon, bang, volleyed and twisted the orbit to test the pressure of the blood guard. Fu Han's projection sinister smile amplified the serious injury and the arc, sizzled, prototype upgrade. I sell the blueprint. The black crystal hive is activated, and the Hades finally arrives. The supply line is not destroyed, the blood guard is crushed. The remaining gangsters clumsily pumped out their whips to explode blue electricity, and the heat wave surged in the air and distorted the field of vision. Li Xiu bites the bloody psychological game. The brood is pulsating and violent, the Hades Emperor is rumored to destroy weapons, and a single machine breaks in and beheads him. The blood guard engine opened at full speed and ejected at 7 times the speed of sound. The AI prediction dodges the gravity wave curtain. The deformed blade turned and teleported through the fortress wall with a whoosh and clicked, with steel fragments flying. The quantum gun barrel mouth was red and hot and buzzed to store the beast's breath. It blasted directly into the heart of the core furnace with a bang and thunder. The torrent of blueprint data popped and exploded into a sea of flames. The remaining limbs of the factory squirmed and crunched before collapsing and emitting black smoke. The holographic projection of the intercepted deployment map exploded, and Tang Yu's alert voice flashed. The brood activates the coordinate lock. Emperor Fu Hanming appears, the ultimate crisis in the black crystal abyss. The rebel driving projection stared wide-eyed, trembling, and collapsed. The blueprint factory was wiped out. The deployment map was completely lost. Master Fu is traitorous. Exposed, the alliance was wiped out in anger. The recruit technician shouted to the sky, and the greasy-faced boy burst into tears, a single attack to destroy the fort. The blood guardian ghost god is predicted to be invincible, and the new king will kill the insect god. Han Xiao's particle whip dived to cut off the remaining thorns, when he whispered with a rare smile in his eyes, the supply line is cut off, I see the slaughterhouse on my right wing, the center is unparalleled. Fu Han wets his pants in despair. But the mist of joy dissipated instantly. The pulse of Gulu Gulu in the black crystal abyss surged like a hell awakening, and the Zerg brood was filled with steel thorns and a green tide tsunami, hissing, the sickle-clawed iron net. Fu Han's ultimate mecha stood in the center, his severely injured cockpit with a sinister smile on his face, and the projection was enlarged, lost the deployment plan. I personally drive the Hades Emperor, the black crystal insect god merges into the destruction form. The countdown to the decisive battle on the border, the blood guard prototype is here to be buried. The giant monster of the Hades, as thick as a mountain, roared with black flames spewing out, the thorn whip with 100 meters of force pumped out and distorted the space, the gravity black hole barrel, buzzed, with energy to absorb the potholes in the track, the green tide larvae sickle king assisted the iron wall, and the acid mist fountain, popped, with rotten metal and smelly insect juice to sting the lungs. The -3 Malawian Kwacha's recruits from the reinforcements dived in formation and the first wave of boom fireballs rolled down and howled miserably. The black hole of the underworld swallows the plane. Fu Han and the insect god join forces to carry out a cumbersome encirclement and suppression with no solution, death. Li Xiu's blood guard suspended heat peak alarm red flash energy dropped by 30%, and the cabin was filled with sweat and blood. The psychological pressure was overwhelming. The ultimate showdown, the mother's nest activated the border to overturn, and outsmarted the beheading. The brainwave extension AI predicts that the multidimensional fire network will lock the Hades spinous joints and delay, and he roars, whole team cover, single machine breaks into the Hades hub. The blood guard ghost ripples are extremely invisible, 8 times the speed of sound, whoosh and merge into the green tide ghosts. The sickle king larvae hiss and wave around the air to catch no trace, and the anti-insect shield green vortex unfolds to block the acid juice without damage. The Hades Emperor's thorn whip whipped wildly and the blast failed, and the gravity black hole buzzed and pulled the lock. Fu Han's cockpit was twisted with red light and his sinister eyes flashed with fear. Stealth prediction teleportation. Blood Guard man and machine merge into one ghost and god. Impossible, I sold the blueprint and the black crystal is invincible. Li Xiu teleported in a chain. It flashed 20 times and, swish, pierced the iron net. The deformed blade gathered energy for 40 meters and, buzzed, the blue arc cut the spine joints. The black crystal shattered into a green pulp fountain. The first wave of Sickle King assisted the convulsive soul dispersion. The quantum missile swarm, swish, locked and exploded the flank ratchet arm. The fireball, bang bang, hit the abyss. Han Xiao's right-wing whip shadow of the particle machine, popped, to assist in scattering the remaining insects. His cold eyes widened and he screamed rarely, a single machine breaks the iron wall of the underworld emperor. I haven't seen the god of slaughter on the track, the central overlord is invincible. The projection of the new recruits and reinforcements collapsed and turned to kneeling in ecstasy. The Blood Guard's thick armor was wrapped in lightning and killed the Pluto Emperor. Fu Han's traitorous ultimate machine was instantly disabled, and the new king came to reshape the interstellar pattern. Fu Han's Pluto Emperor's engine convulsed and he threw back the black flames and roared, seriously injuring the Ark ZZ. The intense sinister projection screamed with regret and despair. The blueprint sells insects. The activation of the black crystal brood is useless. The prototype upgrade goes against the sky. Man and machine merge into one to kill the gods. I regret scheming with the enemy, and my home on the border is destroyed. Li Xiu chased after Quantum. The cannon boomed directly into the hub, the gravity black hole shield exploded and the green mist steamed. The deformed blade finally turned and penetrated the cockpit with a whoosh and a puff of blood sprayed out. Fu Han himself howled miserably and the projection collapsed. Blood Guard. Invincible, the rebellion is over. The giant beast of the underworld boomed into a sea of fire, and its remaining limbs flew into the abyss. The weak green tide of the brood's pulsating Gulu retreated. The victory or defeat in the border battle was decided, but the black crystal at the bottom of the abyss buzzed, and a new threat loomed, and the crisis hook was burning and bleeding. The sea of fire in the black crystal abyss gradually subsided, and the remaining green tide hissed like a defeated dog and retreated into the cracks. The white mist of steaming sour rot insect juice slowly thinned, and the pungent smell mixed with burnt metal still lingered in the nasal cavity, making people faintly nauseated while gasping. The remains of the Hades Emperor stood like a behemoth with a broken spine. The engine's resounding, buzzing, and low hum gradually extinguished. The black flame embers scattered over the potholes and the track popped and exploded. The ticking sound of Fu Han's blood coagulating in the cockpit was particularly sad in the silence. The engines of hundreds of Alliance reinforcements roared and hovered at low gears. The blue light of the projection scanning beams swept across the thick armor of the Blood Guards. The torrent of data exploded and roared. The execution of the traitor leader Fu Han is confirmed. The blueprint factory was completely destroyed, the pulsation of the brood was weakened by 90%, and the border defense line was reborn. Li Xiu, the new king has arrived, star, international overlord. The recruit's face was pale, and he trembled in the -3 Malawian Kwacha's cabin. He stared at the suspended figure of the Blood Guard, his voice shaking like chaff. The single machine slaughter underworld emperor penetrated the cockpit, and Fu Han's blood-spraying projection collapsed. Let's paper the recruits and worship the border god. Sweat and blood are steaming in Li Xiu's cabin. The self-healing blue light of the shoulder injury's nanopulsation, ZZ, slowly converges. The energy needle, DD, stabilizes 30% of the red flash. The heat peak suppresses the buzzing and turns into a low pulse. His brain waves easily disconnect the quantum core, and the holographic vision scans the black crystal at the bottom of the abyss. But before the joy could spread, Tang Yu's stealth module, Z, appeared, and the blood-stained projector's sensitive eyes flickered and gasped. Full analysis of the deployment plan. Fu Han's treasonous shady story was uploaded to the Alliance headquarters. The remnants of the rebels were mopping up, but the black crystal in the abyss moved. The new blueprint fragments were intercepted, and the legendary omnipotent deformation module is used to optimize the final form of the Blood Guard. She clicked the virtual keys of her fingers to throw out a torrent of data. The blueprint projection unfolded like a galaxy vortex, and the nanolines danced to outline the multi-target locking fire network of the thick fuselage. Xinu's engineering arm came to the scene with a crunch, her beautiful face was flushed and tears still remained, and the projection distorted her worship and whispered, "Li Xiu, you combine man and machine to kill the gods, and you are an unparalleled savior of the border." This fragment of the blueprint, the anti-insect shield iteration and omnipotent deformation, and the AI prediction upgrade multidimensional fire net 1000 target lock the energy recovery module is self-charging. I welded it on site to optimize the final form. Her engineering arm stretched out the nanotube line and injected it into the blood shield interface. The liquid metal, gulu, boiled and covered the thick armor joints. The vision in the cabin flashed wildly, and the hot melt sparks of the AI chip exploded. Li Xiu roared, his brainwaves extended and merged, and the joystick was as smooth as an arm without any lag. Compared with the clumsy formation of the new recruit's -3 Malawian kwachas, they turned around and sparks flew. He was mentally depressed and suppressed, energy troughs blocked, welding peaks or explosions, the abyss black crystal whispered and hid danger, optimization could not fail. The recruit's projection collapsed and he mocked and turned to worship, the blood guard is half disabled and optimized. The technician goddess is welding by herself, the legendary blueprint is omnipotent. The newcomers, we stupid beasts, witnessed the rebirth of the interstellar overlord. The right wing of Han Xiao's particle machine circled and dived to the ground. The whip shield shattered and the leakage of electricity sizzled violently. A rare soft light flashed through her sweaty and cold eyes. She jumped out of the cabin and put away the particle whip with a snap. She roared with rare approval, "The central slaughterhouse slaughters the god, my mother." The right-wing auxiliary witnesses. Supplies are out, Fu Han is in despair, and the border is gasping for breath. But the black crystal groans, and the recruits are in training. Her eyes locked on the formation of the recruits, and the particle whip popped the air to demonstrate the dive lock. The boy widened his eyes and trembled and roared, personally trained by the Queen of Particles. Whip Shadow is quick to finish off the damage. We -3 Malawian kwachas bulky worship, follow the new king to kill the insect remnants. The residual warmth of the heat wave in the air hit his nose, and the smell of burnt insect juice faded away and turned into a crisp, click sound of metal cooling. Blue light fell from the lampposts in the temporary engineering area of the base, and the remnants of the reinforcement technicians knelt down with tears in their faces, and the projection roared, "Li Xiu Blood Guard prototype." A single machine broke through the iron wall and beheaded the traitor, the blueprint factory was reduced to ashes. The homeland is reborn, and the status is rewarded as the martial candidate of the alliance. Optimized welding of the buzzing energy-gathering vortex, the blood guard's thick armor lines rippled wildly, the omnipotent deformation module integrated with the nano self-healing green vortex expanded, the anti-insect shield was layered with immune acid mist, the AI prediction optical network multidimensional flashing locked thousands of targets without lag for 0.01 seconds. The energy recovery pipeline, Gulu, self-charging blue flame pulsated. The torrent of data on Xinu's fingers stagnated, her beautiful face twisted with tears flashing in admiration and she screamed, "The ultimate fusion." The all-powerful deforming blade 50-meter teleportation chain, multi-target fire power quantum swarm radiation immunity, Li Xiu, your final form, the invincible overlord of the interstellar. Li Xiu's test engine boomed and blue flames burst out at 9 times the speed of sound. The deformed blade turned and swished to cut through the air without a shadow. The human-machine integration in the cabin was extremely smooth. The nano-healing peak of the shoulder injury was suppressed and cleared. The black crystal movement in the holographic abyss scan of the field of vision intensified. The new recruits lined up and the -3 Malawian kwachas engine screamed and followed awkwardly, and the pilot yelled and knelt down, "The final form is accurate?" Thick armor with lightning and multiple target locks, predicting thousands of kills in the fire net. We worship, the new king's reputation is throughout the galaxy. The fruits of harvest are like a surge, and the giant projection screen of the Alliance headquarters descends. The Marshal's shadow solemnly zooms in, Li Xiu, the new king of the border. Fu Han's treachery has been exposed, and the rare blueprint library of rewards has been fully opened. His status has been promoted to border commander, and the reinforcements are ready to follow orders. Handle trivial matters, rectify the remnants of the army, and wipe out the remnants. Tang Yu's smart projection threw out fragment of the deployment plan. The remnants of the rebels are hiding in the edge cracks, the remnants of the Zerg are trying to counterattack with the bombing, and the coordinates are locked. The atmosphere of joy is soothing and permeating. The technicians in the engineering area distribute energy capsules, Papa, supplies, the recruits smile with their oily faces, and the burning smell in the air turns to the fragrance of lubricating oil, and the engine hums like a symphony of victory. But the calm mist dissipated instantly, the black crystals at the bottom of the abyss hummed and surged, gurgling, like hell awakening, the remnants of the green tide hissed, and the sickle claw iron net exploded, the remaining rebel stealth bombers boomed, dived and dropped bombs, the fireballs boomed, smashed into the pits, the track was twisted, the acid mist fountain popped, corroded the -3 Malawian Kwacha's thick armor of the reinforcements, sizzled and emitted white smoke. The crisis escalated. The red flash of the military alarm was piercing, and the heat wave distorted the vision. The first wave of recruits lined up and dived, bombed, and turned into fireballs rolling down. They howled miserably, swarm of black crystal insects. The rebel bombing has no solution, the bulky -3 Malawian Kwacha's blockade has failed, the end is coming again. The final form of Li Xiu's blood guard was suspended, and he roared. The psychological game overwhelmed despair. On the eve of the final battle, new threats loomed, optimization should not be wasted, and the whole team rushed in to sweep. The team obeys the order, rushes into the edge of the black crystal in blood, and cuts off the source of the remnant tide. The leader of the blood guard ghost mode ripples invisible, 9 times the speed of sound, whoosh, merges into the green mist ghost. The omnipotent deforming blade gathers energy and buzzes, blue arc prelocked for 50 meters, and the AI multi-target fire net flashes thousands of points. The new recruits follow tremblingly, and the projection of Pussy Kid collapsed, the final form opens the way. We cover with paper to witness the Overlord's slaughter again. Han Xiao's particle machines whip shadow on the right wing, popped, to assist the dive, cold eyes and determined low voice. I cover the center, the right wing locks the rebel bombers. She whipped the shield to leak violently, and teleported to lock the 2 stealth bombers. Boom, the fireball hit the abyss, but the green tide scythe king's iron net hissed back, the thorn whip hit the particle machine's right arm with a pop and puff, tore the right arm of the particle machine, sparks exploded, Han Xiao's short hair flew in the cabin, and his cold eyes were twisted with blood. Screaming, broken arm. I sacrifice the cover, and the particle whip continues to kill the remaining insects. The stump of the right arm fell off with a click, and black smoke was emitted. The particle machine turned sideways and dived to fill the green pulp fountain at the core of the Scythe King. Her projection gasped with rare fragility, the center, rush in, don't let me break my arm in vain. The recruit stared wide-eyed and trembled, shouting and kneeling, the particle queen sacrifices the arm. The right wing is locked and exploded with lightning speed. We stupid beasts worship and follow in blood. Xinu's engineering arm crunched to the rescue at high speed, her beautiful face was twisted and beads of sweat rolled down, her fingers were tapping in a torrent of data, and the nano-welding gun sizzled extended to inject the broken arm interface of the particle machine, Han Xiao insists. On-site welding repair, nano self-healing arm module fusion, Li Xiu cover, my welding speed is at the limit. The hot peak sparks, pop, exploded, and the view in the cabin was distorted. Han Xiao gritted his teeth and growled to endure the pain, and the welding, buzzed, green vortex unfolded a new arm to gather energy and whip shadow was reborn. Li Xiu's blood guard's teleportation chain flashed 30 times in a row to pierce the iron net with whoosh, the omnipotent deformable blade arc cut through the Sickle King group's whoosh, green pulp fountain, the multi-target quantum swarm whoosh locked and exploded the remaining bombers' fireballs in a series of boom, the AI predicted fire network impeccable pre-flash thorn whip. The shield was immune to radiation and the thick armor self-healed without damage. The integration of man and machine is extremely smooth. Compared with the clumsy bombing of Taiyu, Crunch turned around and leaked electricity. His brain waves surged and he roared, cut the edge of the black crystal. The remnants of the rebel army drove the projection and collapsed with a ferocious smile, the final form of the new king. The almighty transformation of the multi-target massacre, the legacy of Emperor Fu Hanming was wiped out, the rest of us will be wiped out. The projection of the new recruit reinforcements knelt and shouted in ecstasy, bloody rush into the divine war. Queen Han's broken arm was welded and repaired, Goddess Xian repaired quickly, Blood Guard 1000 target lock overlord. The border is permanent. Li Xiu's team is invincible. Han Xiao's new arm whip crackled, and his cold eyes trembled with a rare smile, I am reborn, the right wing continues to kill. In the center, the black crystal bursts at the bottom of the abyss, and a new crisis is about to break out. Faced with the legendary blueprint showdown, the Blood Guard swept across the abyss, the bottom black crystal hummed and roared, and cracked, and new insect shadows loomed. The green tide and tsunami foreshadowed the crisis. The aftermath of the final battle is not over yet, and the blood continues to burn. The Blood Guard's final form engine boomed and burst into blue flames. It propelled at 9 times the speed of sound like ghost ripples and invisibly ran into the cracks on the edge of the black crystal. Green mist hit the face with pungent acidity. The sickleclaw iron net hissed and danced wildly, cutting the air with explosions. Li Xiu's brain waves surged wildly, integrating man and machine into an extremely smooth operation. The joystick prelocks 1,000 targets without any lag, the AI multidimensional fire net swooshes, the quantum swarm pre-flashes the thorn whip, the deformed blade 50-meter teleport chain locks, buzz, the blue arc cuts the Sickle King's core, puff, the green slurry fountain splashes, the shield is immune to radiation and the thick armor self-heals the green vortex to expand without damage. The black crystal, gulu gulu, at the bottom of the abyss violently pulsed like the heart of hell, the crack cracked with a loud click, and the huge outline of a new insect shadow loomed, the legendary crystal core insect king, the black crystal edges of the carapace flashed with green light, and the tentacle sickle blade of the 100-meter whip shadow, pop, smashed the reinforcements -3 Malawian Quacha's thick armor and, bang, turned into a fireball and rolled into the pit. Said, the acid mist fountain, puff, corroded the metal and, sizzled, white smoke billowed. The recruits piloted the pus bubble oil with pale and distorted faces. The projection in the cabin collapsed and howled in despair, the crystal core insect king has awakened. The black crystal pulsating unsolvable sickle blade 100-meter killing machine, the first wave of our paper-made recruits will be wiped out. The border country will be destroyed, and the new king will never be restored. The crisis is about to rise before it subsides. Li Xiu's Blood Guard is suspended in the sky above the rift. The blue flame pulse of the energy self-charging module, Gulu, is 100% stable. The shoulder injury is fully healed and the heat peak is cleared. The mutation pointed directly at the depths of the mother's nest. The reinforcements were clumsily arrayed and turned around with sparks. The green tide tsunami Sickle King's iron net counterattacked and blocked the way forward. The tentacles of the crystal core insect emperor prelocked the Blood Guard projection and shook the earth with a ferocious smile and a low hum. The new recruits lined up for the second wave of dives. The screams of the boom engine were exploded by the thorn whip, and the fireballs of the wreckage hit the pit. The driver howled miserably and the projection flashed, the bulky -3 Malawian Quachas can't seal it. The insect king's crystal core pulse radiation penetrates the armor. We worship the new king and wait to die. Han Xiao's new right arm whip of the particle machine, pop, strengthens the doubled explosive dive assist, locking and blasting more than 10 sickle kings, boom, the green pulp squirting wildly, but the tentacles of the crystal core insect king flashed and hit the particle machine. The shield shattered and leaked violently. She had short hair with blood-stained cold eyes in the cabin and an unusually distorted roar. I can't stop the crystal core pulse even if I double the speed of my whip. The right wing cover collapsed, and the central unit rushed in alone. Don't let the border home be guarded in vain. The particle machine turned sideways and emitted black smoke, and the energy needle flashed red and the 80% heat peak was approaching the edge of the explosion cabin. Xinu's engineering arm squeaked at high speed to rescue the fissure, and her beautiful face was twisted with fear. The torrent of finger data smacked and banged on the nano-welding gun, sizzling, in an attempt to inject into the particle machine, but the green glow, buzz, radiation of the crystal core swept across the interface of the engineering arm. Crack, broke and sparks exploded. She projected flushed tears and screamed, welding failure. The insect king's crystal core unsolved radiation corrodes the nanowires. Li Xiu fights alone in his final form, our logistics is completely ruined, the international overlord fell into the abyss. Tang Yu's invisible stealth module, Z, appeared with blood-stained eyes locked on the fragments of the deployment plan, and whispered, the black crystal core penetrates directly into the depths of the mother nest, and the fragments of Fu Han's blueprint activate the mutation. In the last move, the coordinates were locked but there was no way to advance. The reinforcements knelt down and yelled, the projection collapsed, the new king, the crystal core insect king's legendary unparalleled sickle blade pulse, our thousands of paper machines were turned into ashes, despair blockade, homeland fell. The atmosphere of despair is like a black mist. The green sea roars, the sickle king's iron grid hisses and shrinks, the newly recruited -3 Malawian Kwacha's remnant retreats awkwardly, and the engine crunches with overload. The sour and rancid smell of burnt insect juice mixed with molten metal is pungent, and the heat wave surges and distorts the vision. Li Xiu roared, his brain wave stretched to the limit, the blood guard's final form, the omnipotent deformation module, buzzed, the energy-gathering ripples flashed wildly, the anti-insect shield was iteratively laminated, the immune acid mist green vortex expanded, the AI predicted a 0.01 second multidimensional fire network. 1,000-target quantum swarm, whoosh, pre-flash crystal core pulse. The deformed blade 50-meter teleportation chain flashed 100 times in a row, whoosh. Whoosh, and pierced the iron net without a shadow, the thick armor man and machine merged smoothly and extremely, contrast sparks flew from the formation of the reinforcements, and his psychological game turned to blood, suppressed despair to reveal your dominance. Team cover, blood guards cut off the crystal core. The engine, bang, blue flames exploded at 9 times the speed of sound and blended into the green mist ghosts, the blue arc of the deformed blade cut the sickle king group, puff puff, green slurry fountains like rain, the quantum swarm locked and exploded tentacle roots, bombed, a series of fireballs, the shield radiation immunity self-healed and advanced to the deep level without damage. The new recruit Pussy Kid's eyes widened. He trembled and knelt in the cabin, and his worship of the projection flash collapsed, the final form of the divine battle. The teleportation chain penetrates the iron net and kills thousands of targets, and the crystal core pulse pre-flash does not hurt. We are a paper witness that the new king, man and machine, are invincible. The right wing of Han Xiao's particle machine, the whip shadow, was doubled and reborn to assist the dive, locking the sickle king to finish the green slurry. She shouted with a rare smile in her cold eyes, the center kills the crystal core alone, my right wing continues to cover. The whip speed is accurate, the border is not destroyed. Xinu reorganized the nanotube line at high speed after the engineering arm was broken. ZZ injected reinforcements -3 Malawian Kwachas, her beautiful face screamed with tears and blood, optimized delivery. The final form prototype opens the way, we follow with dumb arms. Li Xiu, interstellar savior, overlord eternal life. Tang Yu's torrent of deployment plans pop throughout the weakness of the crystal core, the pulse core is exposed for 0.5 seconds, lock it. The blood guard is suspended directly above the insect king, the omnipotent deformation blade gathers energy for 50 meters, and the buzzing, blue flame vortex is swirling wildly. The tentacles of the crystal core insect king dance wildly and pop, pumping air and bursting, the green light pulse, buzzing, radiation sweeps away, but the blood guard shield green vortex is immune to thick armor and self-healing, the deformation blade penetrates the carapace, puff, the green pulp fountain rises into the sky, the quantum bee the group, swish, imploded and the core, bang, continued. The insect king's projection collapsed and screamed, hissing, the giant body spasmed and collapsed, and the black crystal pulsation, Gulu, was weakened by 90%. The cracks collapsed and, crack, click, click, dust filled the sky. The remnants of the green tide hissed and retreated into the abyss, the thin acid mist turned into a crisp, click, of cooling metal, and the lingering warmth of the heat wave faded away. The new recruits lined up, the -3 Malawian Quacha's engines whirred awkwardly, and the driver knelt down with tears in his eyes and yelled, "Slay the crystal core in a single machine." The deformation blade penetrates the pulsing heart, we thousands of machines worship, the border god, the new king shakes the galaxy. Han Xiao's particle machine stabilized the right wing, and praised softly with cold eyes, "My broken arm is re-welded to witness, the central leader, the team is intact, and the homeland is reborn." Xinu's projection flushed with ecstasy, the crystal core is cut off, the brood is completely destroyed. The final form is intact, the legendary blueprint is perfect. Li Xiu, you will grow into a border commander and an interstellar overlord. The giant projection screen at the Alliance headquarters came again. The phantom of the Marshal solemnly magnified the blue light and swept across the thick armor of the blood guard. The torrent of data exploded and roared, Li Xiu, the new iron-blooded king of the border. The killing of the crystal core insect king is confirmed, the pulse of the brood is reset to 0, Fu Han's rebellion is completely wiped out, and the shady curtain is sealed forever. The library of rare rewards and blueprints is fully open, and the status of the border commander, the successor of the Marshal, and the reinforcements are all ready to reshape the interstellar pattern. The remaining technicians in the engineering area knelt down to worship, and the energy capsules popped to distribute supplies, and the recruit pupa boy smiled and yelled with a greasy face, "The prototype of the Godslayer is in command, and the blueprint is unparalleled. Our stupid soldiers will follow with blood, and our homeland will be eternal." Tang Yu's sharp eyes flickered as he threw out the final deployment plan. The remnants of the rebels have been wiped out, the illegal track black market has collapsed, and the blueprint technology has returned to humanity. Li Xiu's cabin was filled with sweat and blood. Teng's brain waves are disconnected, his vision sweeps across the abyss of peace, and his mind is filled with growth and calm. From border guard to interstellar overlord, a bloody battle on the illegal track to win the legendary blueprint, the integration of man and machine to kill the gods, comrade sacrifice to find a home for a breather, Fu Han's conspiracy was wiped out, and the border defense line was reborn. But the joy did not dissipate. The remaining crystals at the bottom of the abyss were humming faintly, and the galaxy projection flashed a new alarm. The Zerg home star was pulsing and moving, and the Pirate Alliance was secretly surging into the outer territory of the border. Han Xiao jumped into the cabin, her short hair flying, and her cold eyes locked on Li Xiu's figure with a rare soft smile. "The Central Prime Emperor has grown into the Overlord, and I will continue to accompany you on the right wing. The new blueprint is fully deformable, and we will fight again on the galaxy circuit. Commander of the new king, obey the order and reshape. The crystal core will fly away, and the insect tide will never end." Li Xiu murmured, his brainwaves lightly touching the quantum core, the blood guard's thick armor pulsating with blue flames. The man-machine integration has a smooth aftertaste, and he looked at the starry sky. The border has only just begun, and the galactic hegemony is burning blood. The black mist of the abyss dissipated, the blueprint projection galaxy vortex unfolded, a new threat loomed, and the iron-blooded guard continued to write the legend. The reinforcements were circling and humming, the blue light from the lampposts of the temporary base sprinkled the tunnel, the smell of burnt insect juice turned to the fragrance of lubricating oil, and the victory symphony engine hummed. Tang Yu stood invisible and whispered shrewdly, headquarters confirms that the outlaws on the illegal track have surrendered. Your blueprint design talent shocked the galaxy. Li Xiu nodded, and the Blood Guard led the return flight in levitation. Han Xiao, the right wing of the particle machine, demonstrated the whip shadow, and the new recruit Mk3 clumsily follows and worships and shouts. The prototype of the commander opens the way, unparalleled speed. The arc of growth flashes like blue flames, from destroying the mecha and sneaking into the track to the final form of killing gods. The border home is reborn from despair, and the protagonist iron-blooded transforms into the new king of the interstellar. However, the projection of the outer domain of the Milky Way border flashes the shadow of the pirate ship, rumbling, approaching. The green light of the Zerg home star is pulsing, foreboding the tide, opening the crisis hook, and the blood is endless. The journey to Overlord is in the ascendant. But the private channel, Didi, rang loudly. Tang Yu's image was stained with blood, and the border in the background was in flames. Li Xiu. It's urgent on the way back. The Zerg army broke through the defense line, and the second platoon leader's old troops were wiped out. The base fell, the radiation bugs engulfed the city. Fu Han's remaining party led the way. Return quickly, or the human border will perish. The underground city trembled like a beast waking up, and in the blueprint heat wave, Li Xiu locked his eyes on the star map. The -3 Malawian Quacha's engine roared and gathered momentum, and a new curtain of bloody battle began. The thick armor lines of the Blood Guard's final form ripple and flash, the omnipotent deformation module's nanometer self-healing green swirling eternal veins, and the AI chip's whisper predicts the galactic storm. Li Xiu's vision in the cabin unfolded the blueprint library holographically, and rare fragments danced to outline the next generation of the Legion. The psychological release was extreme, killing gods with pleasure, touching comrades, and shocking the reshaping of the pattern. Han Xiao's short hair was in the wind, and he sneered and praised. I witnessed the whole process. The track partner turned into an iron-blooded team. Galaxy Rush, continue to kill.